Good afternoon and welcome, everybody. This would be the Jeff Cameron Show right here on 97.9 ESPN Radio. Great to be with you. Happy New Year, everybody. I'm Jeff. That's Tom. We're online, ESPNTallahassee.com. That's where you go to listen live via the streaming free. Always don't miss anything, but hey, if you do, it happens. We understand. All 3 hours get posted upon the conclusion of the show, both through iTunes and our own audio vault. I guess I should add to that, the WTSM app is free for all mobile devices, and you can find the show there, too, as well. If you'd like to email, feel free, jcs@979espnradio.com. Find me on Twitter at @JCameronShow. We're back doing the YouTube feed. So good to see you, YouTubers. Hello. Off the cap to you. ESPN Tallahassee or Jeff Cameron Show on YouTube. You'll find it there. You'll find it on Periscope as well if you follow at 979 ESPN Radio on Twitter. So that about catches us up. And do you realize how close we came, Tom Lang? First of all, Happy New Year to you. Happy New Year to Director Matthew. You know how close we came to seeing Uga get gored on national television and dog guts spilling everywhere for the nation to see? It's funny because it didn't happen, but what's funny is that woman flying 8 feet in the air.
Mm-hmm.
Who had the idea to walk the dog next to Bevo? Not a good call, man. Not what we're going to do here.
And then poor Bevo, they got him leashed up on the wall the rest of the game. And he's just staring at the wall.
Bevo's like, what? What? Is this frowned upon?
You know,
you brought a dog in.
At least in Austin, I have this huge pen I can just hang out in. But you've got me on a leash. This is ridiculous.
So, I mean, yeah, it was funny because nobody got hurt. It's always funny when people narrowly miss getting
that lady,
hurt.
That lady that got flung, yes, is, millimeters away.
There are a couple. Like, if you watch that in Super Slow-Mo, there's also that one dude who almost takes it in the side.
Yeah, the cameraman.
Yeah.
It almost looks like he gets caught in the side of the head a little bit. Yeah.
Can you imagine? Think about how close we were to seeing somebody die or something die.
Folks, the game is canceled tonight as Bevo has impaled a cameraman.
Oh, well, for years I've wondered when Ralphie was going to kill somebody over at Colorado. I've always thought at some point that thing's going to go rogue and go, I'm tired of this. I am tired of this. You're going down today. Run me out here again. And then what are they going to do? I mean, if a buffalo decides it's had enough, it's like when the elephants piece out of the circus, where they should never be. But when they decide, that's it. I'm not getting on the tricycle. Here's what I'm going to do instead. I'm going to kill you. And as many people as I can before you shoot me. I'm done. It's...
Hey, man. All I know is Uga had his head on a swivel, though. He was like, whoa, what are we doing here?
He wasn't a speedster. That one guy was looking out for him, though. That was good. Oh,
but Uga was there. Like, wait, what is that? Oh, God.
Look at the size of that thing. That was awesome. Bevo went from, hey, everything's cool. What's that? Oh, you want a piece? Here we go. No chance. And it was ominous as Texas went on to pretty well, at least a good quarter and a half of that game, completely dominate Georgia, which isn't altogether surprising. I'm not going to do the outside of the Pac-12, which we now can look at with a John Desai on a regular basis. I'm not going to do the thing where the referendum on conferences. By the way, there's a gambling angle here. The ACC ends up with a no-show because I think 5-5 in their bowl games.
Yeah, that's the BC Boise game.
Yeah, you get screwed on that. They would have, they were in the lead and they were running the ball. I actually think they probably would have won that game if they can establish the run. That's usually how they win the game.
Right. Yeah.
And the reason that matters to me is not that they go 6-5 or anything like that. It's just that's the over. Probably going to get that. I think.
So is the bet off at that point? It's got to be. That's not fair.
Yeah. No. Nobody loses. Nobody wins. Yeah. Same for whatever conference Boise State's at, Mountain West or whatever that is. Theirs was off the board, too, immediately because it's a no play. But that's just an aside, Tom. That's just an aside.
Well, at least the Buckeyes covered yesterday.
Oh, thank God. What a way for the great Urban Meyer to go out. They didn't cover, of course. But less about that, more about the gushing. Hey, great football coach. No doubt about that. Suspect human being. No doubt about that either.
So, what do you think the odds are that he's on the desk for the pregame and halftime show next week for the national championship game?
To have his back massaged by the current staff?
Chris Fowler, what are you doing at the desk? Come to comment on tonight?
Urban's back.
Oh, we thought you were here to talk with Reese. Not at all. I'm just here for Irby.
I still got, by the way, as an aside, for those that missed our show in between the day off yesterday and prior to New Year's, because we did do one. I still like Clemson, especially if you can get them at just over 6.
Yeah, 6.5. It looks like they're just going to keep it there, no matter how much money would flow in on Alabama.
I want Bama's fans and the sycophants and just the betting public, because the public is always on Alabama because they're such a prohibitive favorite every week. And, oh, by the way, during the regular season, it's not a bad idea to be on Alabama's side, especially first half. But I would say here, if we can get that to 7.5, you're stealing. So hold out, hold on. And let's see what happens. See if enough people throw money Bama's way.
Yeah, the money line was at plus 200 this morning, and I said, "Oh man!" But you know what? There's enough. I mean, it's still a razor's edge.
It's a great game. It's a great game, man. It's a game. It's the two best teams. I mean, I don't think there's any question about that. And so we get another great contest between these two. You can be tired of it and still acknowledge that it's a great game between the two best teams. Just be damn tired of those two teams. Well, we got to do something about it, obviously. And we didn't do anything to get in Clemson's way. No, not at all. And neither is anybody else right about now. That kid is humming at quarterback. And there's just when they decide to play to the talent level and the depth of talent, you're in trouble.
Well, if it were the same two teams and it was like, let's say, Alabama and Notre Dame, because Notre Dame's schedule is easy in a given year, something like that, and it was the BCS system, and you just know, oh, this is a paper champs game. And we had a few of those in the BCS where
back
we knew,
in the day, yeah.
like Alabama Notre Dame is the best example of it.
Sure.
Then I think I would be more annoyed, but this is going to be a really compelling football game. So even though it's the same laundry, yes, that's annoying, and I'd like us to be a part of that conversation, but we're nowhere near it at the moment. So fine, give me the most entertaining football game I can have. This just happens to be the pair of teams.
Yeah, and I think
again.
But I can go back to this and when it's weird and how it's also it's good to remind everybody how quickly it can change. And that's good and bad, right? I mean, we went from winning 29 straight football games. It's the longest streak. It surpasses Alabama's currently. Now, we'll see if Alabama can get up there. But, from 2012 to 2014, Florida State wins 29 straight games. And I'm sure at that point, because we were on the receiving end of every tweet imaginable after each win, the country gets tired of that, right? In that moment, you could not have guessed that Florida State would go from being that team, the subject of ire, a dominant force, at least for 13, to bumbling and stumbling their way to a 5-7 record and no longer being part of the larger discussion, and that in its place would be Clemson, who was now that kind of dominant. That kind of annual conversation centers around, can anybody rise up to knock off the Tigers? Of course, Alabama has been the standard and the mainstay in that position, to which everybody is discussed, as a potential to upset the apple cart. So you get Ohio State, Clemson, maybe one or two other teams over the course of time where they
Georgia
say,
recently,
in a given year, where they'll say, well, this team could rival them. Alabama's a fixture there. But we couldn't have known how quickly that would turn. And it's true. You're a quarterback away. You're a few linemen away. You're a great season that compels the person that is on the fence, the 5-star, to go yes to you and no to the other before you turn it around. So it can happen quickly. It happened very quickly in the case of Georgia, I might add. Obviously, Mark Richt's time came up. He leaves. Kirby gets there. Even once Kirby's there, at one point they're a 4-loss team, and you're kind of uncertain of what that's going to look like for him. And then all of a sudden, they're really good. You're looking at that team as, oh, man, that team's great.
Well, they had a transformative recruiting class. I'd say that's the thing. I mean, it's different strokes for different folks. Like Clemson developed, and then they landed a couple of big players, and bam, here they are. But they didn't exactly have top 2 or 3 recruiting classes year after year, so it was inevitable that it happened. Georgia's rise is kind of like, whoa, where did this recruiting giant come from? Because we were in that conversation as one of the power teams recruiting-wise, but it was Ohio State and Alabama. And I was like, man, it's really tough to crack that top 2 consistently.
Yeah. Of
Urban and Nick Saban, they got these things rolling. But then Kirby's like, the hell out of my way. Here I come, folks.
Well, he was the first of those disciples, if you will, to take whatever that model was and take it to the SEC. Obviously, Jimbo took it here, but he took it to the SEC, elsewhere in the SEC, and said, no, we're going to keep on keeping on. I've learned from from the master, and I'm applying it here because that's always abundantly clear when you watch Georgia right now. The way that they're currently comprised is that from an athlete standpoint, you look at them and you realize that's a different level. That's where you're aspiring to get to. Now, that said, Georgia lost to the 3 best teams they played this year. So, that's
not great. No, not when the expectations are, but they're also quite young, and they had I thought this year was going to be an interesting one for Georgia just because they lost their two-headed monster on offense. They were about running the football, and you needed Fromm to take a step, and I think it was mixed returns for him overall this year, but you didn't expect their rushing attack before last night to be as potent as it was if you lose 2 players that are impact players right now on Sundays.
Always got studs at the position, though. They recruit that and then some. You knew Swift would be a very good player this year. I mean, they do. Yeah, you're right.
You lose Roquan on defense, among others, but yeah. I mean, it's kind of a reload year, and yet they were still kind of on the brink there before last night, again, obviously. But it is fun to ESPN2, the Command Center broadcast, that they didn't publicize all that much this year. But Kirby Cam is freaking awesome when the defense is on the field. That guy is relentless, a really, really good play caller.
There's a moment in that game, and this is what you have to be freed up to do as a head coach, where they're sleepwalking, they're getting their head handed to them. You've got guys that are not committed to scheme, and they're trying to make plays. They're pressing. They're doing things defensively that they haven't really done consistently all year long. And Kirby's had enough. And he gathers that entire defense, and he is imploring everybody to do their job. You see him say it several times. Your job. It's not somebody else's, your job. Let's get back to playing defense the way we know how. And it's just a big picture moment. Now, he is obviously in charge of the defense, but it's him being a head coach there. And that's, I thought, in a nutshell, what you're talking about at all times with the transition from being a coordinator to being a head coach is recognizing the moment. Now, they did go on to play pretty well, certainly much better than they were playing up to that point. And so it became somewhat of a game for a while. But that's what, I've got to believe now Willie is freed up to do, not worrying about the offense and having it turn over to Kendall Briles. And, you are obviously handing over the reins completely when you pay him what Florida State's now paying Kendall Briles. And you are allowing him to bring in a coach or assistants and things of that ilk, right? That guy is in total control. So Willie has to be the guy that has his finger on the pulse of that team, both sides of the ball, and know when those moments are, and perhaps to be more demonstrative. Now, I know that's not in his nature, and I don't want you to be something you're not. But I do. I mean, I don't need you to, showcase a personality that isn't yours. But you do have to have your finger on the pulse no matter what kind of personality you are.
Well, I think somebody like an Odell Higgins or a holdover in the athletic department can say, Coach, all right, with Jimbo and with you, we need somebody to fight for calls. Jimbo went over the top, and we thought maybe that there was a backlash because he was so demonstrative. I mean, he was crazy with the officials. Called him gutless at a press conference once, among other things.
And there are repercussions for that, by the way.
Right, there are. And yet, you come, improve our standing, improve our relationship with the officials, and yet we're still in the same place. So we need you.
You get run roughshod.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, he has all the evidence in the world this year, does he not? On 50-50 calls or things that they somehow forgot or did not assess or whatever. I mean, Jesus.
Yeah.
You've got to be all over that if you're the coach. Get every inch you can by whatever means you can when it comes to the rule book and working the referees.
So where are we at? The end of the UCF run to the hands of LSU in a game whose score didn't really represent the disparity. I mean, I felt like if you watch Joe Burrow and LSU, you thought they should have been up by 3 touchdowns. Instead, it's an 8-point game. UCF has the ball late, and you're going, how is this possible? The yardage edge is lopsided in LSU's favor. Nonetheless, that streak is over. You get Urban Meyer now retiring. Good. Tired of seeing him. Ohio State wins the Rose Bowl. Once again, the Pac-12 doesn't show up. Washington's got 4 losses in a year where we thought maybe this would be a big season for them. Doesn't happen that way.
I don't think you've seen the last of Urban Meyer, at least not on your television.
That's for sure. Georgia, meanwhile, becomes pretty consistent, at least with the teams that who miss out on the playoff or just miss out on a chance. They don't show up. 1-4 are the 5th-place teams, if you will, in these bowl games. And where else did you go? I mean, I don't know that anything else was revelatory. Most of this stuff played out. I think it is true that you're going to be, in terms of talent, you're going to be watching Texas A&M closely. Obviously, they run roughshod over NC State, 52-13. They've got a ton of talent, just a ton of talent. But, of course, they lost 4 games this year, so we'll see. Does he
Does he do what he does, or does he out-recruit what he likes to do if he doesn't have transcendent talent?
I would say within the ACC, it'll be interesting, if only because they're on our schedule now. But Bronco Mendenhall is doing a good job, and Virginia did take that step forward. How about a 28-0 ass-kicking late at the feet at South Carolina there? They get to 8 wins, does Virginia, and win that bowl game. That's a big deal.
Well, we talked about it a little bit on Monday, but I think Tua reset the conversation. We got lost in the moment, I think, media-wise, when it comes to giving Kyler Murray the Heisman Trophy. I think Tua was the better player all year long.
Sure.
Of course, if
he had bothered to play fourth quarters, his numbers would have absolutely surpassed.
That's what I'm saying, and I think we forgot about that. You have a bad performance / an injury-riddled performance in the SEC title game, and Kyler is everything to what Oklahoma does. I mean, if it's not him, then they're not going to get it done. So if you want to talk about most important player, then the Heisman certainly went to the right place. But if you're talking about the better of the two players, Tua reset that, and you could see it in his eyes. There was a bit of a double birds tour, motivation-wise, beyond just the obvious of going to the final.
Yeah, because he can succeed in the pocket without plays breaking down. In fact, it's, if he has time, he's going to hurt you. So that's the whole thing with the Clemson game. It's paramount that they be able to get pressure on him, whereas Oklahoma and Kyler Murray, who he ran for over 100 yards in that game against Alabama. So that expresses to you what he is to them, right? He's running as their quarterback for over 100 yards and threw on a lot of broken plays, including some passes that were awe-inspiring.
Sure, it's not that they're not both good, but it's just
no.
And I get it that Oklahoma's defense is much worse than Alabama's, but still there are about 4 or 5 throws in that game where the window is the size of a football, and that's what that's what he's going to do.
Well, and I would note that Kyler Murray's 5'9". He's not a pro prospect. People need to stop talking about that. I keep hearing people like, well, what big decision? What decision? What are you talking about? He's 5'9". No, that's not a decision. Go play baseball and make your millions. Be great at it. I can't wait to watch him. He's going to be an incredible baseball player, one would think.
Tape from that game didn't help because in the formative moments, he wasn't even close to accurate compared to the numbers you expected to see.
And he's 5'9". We just need to stop doing that. Stop. Man. I would say this. You mentioned that Kyler Murray is all of their offense. He's obviously great and sensational, especially in that conference and in buying time and broken down plays.
Exactly. Extending drives because they're dead without him. Yes.
Without question. But it's 2 years in a row and 2 different guys at the position. So obviously they would argue that the system.
Well, sure, but I think part of it in this game too against Alabama is that Hollywood Brown. You heard it in SportsCenter. He's
going pro.
He's going pro. The fact that he wasn't 100% changes things drastically about what they can do, so they can key in the box a little bit more instead of being stretched down the field. But I mean, I think this year was more of a rebuild for Oklahoma, and yet they still succeeded anyway because this dude is Superman. He's got the extra speed that Baker did not have. Different type players. Baker could make all of the throws. Kyler could do the dual threat thing, but he's so damn fast. I mean, there are a couple of plays.
It's fun to watch.
And we've seen Lamar and Marcus Mariota and Michael Vick now. I mean, there have been a more than just Michael Vick to compare somebody to. And still he has breathtakingly fast moments where we go, really? How much ground can he cover?
We are set for Wild Card Weekend. Later in the show, I'll get to it. Of course, the Noles played basketball very quietly yesterday, a little bit closer than we would have liked to have seen, but nonetheless, a victory again for Florida State, 12-1 in the non-conference as we get set to enter ACC play, so you can't do it better than that. We'll touch on that in a moment as well. It's the Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Saturday, it's the wild card round of the NFL playoffs as we bring you a special doubleheader. Hi, this is Scott Graham. Join me and the rest of our Westwood One crew for all the action. First, it's an AFC South matchup as the Colts and Texans meet in Houston. Then, Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys host Russell Wilson and the Seattle Seahawks. The NFL playoffs are right here.
On 97.9 ESPN Radio, Tallahassee's sports monster.
Hi, welcome to this Subway ad for our all-new Ultimate Cheesy Garlic Bread. How would you like it?
I'll take the Ultimate Bromance.
Extra broy?
Yeah, definitely.
Bro, this ultimate spicy Italian made with ultimate cheesy garlic bread?
I know, bro.
So much melted mozzarella.
And this garlic butter spread, I can't take it, bro.
You know what this calls for.
Bro hug?
It's like we share the same brain, bro.
Bring it in.
Subway, make it what you want. Limited time only at participating restaurants.
Get up first thing, smoke a cigarette. Before lunch, after lunch. Now that I'm talking about it, I kind of feeling like I've lost about 4 hours of every day. I decided I needed to find an alternative. So I started looking, and then Juul came up. I did both for a while. Eventually, I just switched over, and it's very quick.
Mimi made the switch July 2015. Make the switch at JUUL.com. Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical.
Need help moving? Two Men and a Truck Tallahassee provides professional home and business move services, both locally and long distance. For your next move, visit twomen.com or call them at 850-224-2232. Two Men and a Truck, the movers who care.
Do you want the cleanest used car, truck, or SUV at the lowest price? FranksAutoWorld.com. How has Frank's Auto World become Tallahassee's fastest growing used car dealer? Simple. Frank carries up to 70 of the cleanest used cars, trucks, and SUVs, then prices them on the internet lower than the competition. Think I'm kidding? Type in FranksAutoWorld.com on your smartphone, iPad, or desktop. Get multiple pictures and even a free Carfax of each vehicle. FranksAutoWorld.com.
Hi, I'm President John Thrasher. I'm here with some of our outstanding marching chiefs. They've been invited to an incredible opportunity, and they need your help. Next June, the marching chiefs will travel to France and represent both the state of Florida and the United States at the 75th anniversary of the D-Day invasion on the beaches of Normandy. As both an Army veteran and the president of the university dedicated to student veteran success, I know what a meaningful opportunity this is for these talented musicians. But experiences like this can be out of reach for many students. So today, I'm asking for your support so we can send as many of our marching chiefs as possible to this monumental event. Visit give.fsu.edu/Normandy. Thank you, and go Noles!
Are you interested in helping your son or daughter take their athletic performance to the next level? Hi, my name is Louis Dobosensky, personal trainer at Momentum Fitness on Capitol Circle. With over 14 years of experience training athletes at the high school and collegiate levels, including SMU, LSU, and here at Florida State, I can help you do just that. Call Momentum Fitness today at 850-385-9712 to set up your free consultation with me today. Again, that number is 850-385-9712.
I give to you easy laundry service from my friends at Wash Around the Clock. Oh, buddy, this is a game changer. If you're like me, your life is hectic. Between work, school, your kids' sporting events, and activities, well, it leaves you precious little time to kick back and take a load off. About the last thing you want to do is hours of laundry, but there it sits, staring at you, taunting. No more. That's right. More watching, less washing. Save hours of valuable time when you sign up not doing laundry with easy laundry service from Wash Around the Clock. Whether it's dry cleaning or just plain laundry, Wash Around the Clock's easy laundry service will pick up and deliver at your home or office. So sign up for free today at easylaundry.net, or you can give them a call, 850-597-9007. Again, sign up today at easylaundry.net. Oh, and by the way, I got you. Use promo code JCS20 and save 20%. That's promo code JCS20. You're saving 20% on your first order. That's easylaundry.net from Wash Around the Clock.
The Jeff Cameron Show is brought to you by Cornerstone Tool and Fastener. Big store pricing with local service. Online at ctf.nu.
Couldn't stay in front of Winthrop there for a while. Hell-bent on stopping the three. And, here, I want to play something for you. This is Winthrop's head coach. And the reason I want to play it is he's a lot – Pat Kelsey is the coach's name. Sorry. He's a lot like many other coaches who over the last 2 years have had this to say or something akin to it after playing Leonard Hamilton's team and had to deal with its depth, talent, and style of play.
I want to credit Florida State, Coach Ham first. I've been down here quite a bit. I was an assistant at Wake Forest for a long time and have so much respect for what he's built here and made Florida State a national power in basketball. I think I know a lot of their staff, and to see kind of the edge that their team has this year, coming off of an Elite Eight, you could just kind of sense and tell that there's no satisfaction in what they did last year. They're really driven to be special and to charge toward a Final Four, and I believe they're capable of that. I get a lot of respect for how hard he gets his kids to play, how disciplined they are, how well schooled. They do a phenomenal job.
Is it a matter of Florida State having too much height, too much depth, too much experience?
I mean, they're Noah's Ark, man. They got two of everything. they got a lot of everything. They're good.
Well, the game featured a few things here. Some things you really love about this team and some things that can concern you. Offensively, they go cold in the second half. It allows for a 13-1 run for Winthrop, who was at the time getting blown out 56-38 with 18 to play. That run cuts it to a 2-point game, and so you find yourself pretty nervous, I guess, with about 11 minutes to play. But Florida State then obviously is able to kind of get it worked out, and he goes to, as Leonard Hamilton, to a guard-laden lineup, 4 guards, to match the quickness. And, I mean, when you're taking away a 3-point shot, and by the way, Winthrop came into the game as a team that loved to kill you from beyond the arc. They shot over 50% of their field goal attempts were from beyond the arc, and so you knew the game plan was to take that away, and in doing so, you allowed for dribble penetration and extending your defense, and Winthrop was able to convert around the rim, and so I that's a little bit troubling, but it's also a direct result of a couple of things. Florida State hadn't played in 10 days. I think there was a little rust there. It's a sleepy game in the middle of the day on a New Year's, and I don't know that they were defensively rotating with the same sort of vigor and tenacity that you would normally see.
Well, I think Leonard was also rotating a lot of the young guys even when the game is within 2 possessions in the second half. He's trying to invest as much time as he possibly can in this final chance before we get into ACC play.
Yeah, he is.
There'll be a couple of chances in ACC play where you can do that again, but certainly not in the beginning of the schedule when you play Virginia, Miami, and Duke back to back to back. Those aren't the opportunities. So I think and especially the game pressure of that moment, he's investing in this young group, and you're starting to see roles defined, which is nice. Now that Kofer's back in the rotation, his legs aren't underneath him completely yet, but you can see his mind is as sharp as it needs to be.
Well, he played real well in that first half, and then he just looked tired.
Well, he scored the first 12, but there are a couple of things more than like the 3-point shot, which counts for more now because more on this later.
Yeah.
PJ Savoy is not hitting these shots.
I'm getting really fed up with him, but anyhow, go ahead.
So that's really important that he's hitting that 3-pointer. But to me, there are a couple of things I saw where his mind is right where it needs to be, and one of those is he's attacking the basket, still looking to make a pass. If it's not there, then he will attack the rim and score. But that tells me that he's not just playing for me, and he's not just thinking about one thing. He's thinking about multiple things at the same time. And that's, mentally you can be rusty too. And then also the way he approached the passing lanes. He still clogs up the passing lanes quite well, and he has a great idea of spacing around the court. He also is great in the half court of kicking to the open guy. So his mind seems sharp. It's just his legs need to come along with it.
Well, we said before he came back that the number one impact he would have on this team is his ability to defend all 5 positions on the floor, and he's a guy that you can utilize in so many different ways. And when he's scoring, it's almost an added bonus because he can score now. We are now seeing that he's that guy. Last year kind of shocked us all. I think it was a direct result of finally being completely healthy. So I'm not going to be surprised if he comes back and scores because he developed into that player a year ago. He just has to be in shape. It's hard to be in shape when you haven't been able to work out because you have a lower body injury. Now you'll see in time that he'll get back probably late January to where he can, still have his legs beneath him late into the second half. But he already provides such dividends with the ability to defend and really takes pressure off of other players. And I think, too, that, you mentioned Savoy. Let me touch on that real quick. The problem with Savoy, and we've said this since day one, it's great when you have a sharpshooter. So many teams for years that we played, Tom, we would watch those games. They'd kick out, and they were the kind of shooter that as soon as they caught it, you'd go, you knew it was going down, right? We hoped Savoy would be that, and he can be, but he does it very streakily, if you will. He is a guy that when he's hitting shots, and you're in trouble. But when he's not hitting shots, and this year he's not hitting shots from beyond the arc, he's useless because he can't defend and he can't create his own shot. He's a catch-and-shoot three-point guy and really nothing more. And so you're playing 4-on-5 when he's not hitting shots because he does nothing for you defensively. And I know he didn't play extended minutes here. What was it, 10, 12
Just
minutes?
10, yeah.
Because he sucked, and he's had too many games where he's just useless. And I'm beginning to get concerned. We're 13 games into the season. My man, what are we doing here? And at some point, you just can't have him out there.
Well, and that's where the development of David Nichols and his shot. There are times when he gets lost too. You can see the speed of something, catch up to him a little bit. Vassell can hit some shots, and if Kofor continues to be, last year it was kind of like, all right, that's cute in the non-conference season. Can he actually do it in conference? And then he did. You're going to have to count on that more than I think you thought from three-point land. Terrence Mann has done everything he possibly can from the perimeter. He had a couple of threes in the first half yesterday, but he's got to have the confidence and the commitment to do it in ACC play and miss his first two and continue to shoot that shot.
Yeah.
I don't know that he has that in him.
Yeah, and I don't want him being the primary guy to be shooting from there. But you're right. He has to be able to knock that down every now and again. It helps every other aspect of his game. Should be noted for those that don't know, Winthrop doesn't suck. That's an 11-point win for Florida State, which raises an eyebrow. If you didn't watch the game, you'll say to yourself, that's not impressive. But at the same time, Winthrop lost by 13 points to Kentucky at Kentucky. They lost at Vanderbilt by a similar score. So they've played big-time college basketball against great schools on the road. And for their coach after the game to talk, as he did, about Leonard Hamilton, this staff, this team, this group, and the style of play, talent on the roster, and ability to switch, to do things that, indicate that depending on how the game is going, Florida State has the ability to adjust to it and play it that way if need be, is eye-opening because, again, he's seen it. He's seen Kentucky. He has seen teams that have usually, generally speaking, more blue chippers on their roster than Florida State. And to still come away with the kind of praise that he has for this program is impressive. Well, I thought he was class to say it, but he's not the first this year. He's one of 6 or 7 guys that have said something very similar in their post-game testaments to Florida State basketball.
Well, he's also right because Kofor scores the first 12 of the game. He ends up with 14 for the day.
Yeah.
And then Trent Forrest doesn't score until the late part of the game. And then he's in on 3 baskets, I think it is, towards the end, plus a couple free throws. But he's off the score sheet basically the entire time. And yet it's a game here where, you get guys chipping in like Vassell, Cabangeli.
Yeah.
Well, and he was great, obviously. Again, his shot blocking is coming to life a little bit too, his confidence in that realm.
You ever notice this, by the way, Tom? We're having this conversation every game. There are 4 Florida State players in double figures in this game.
Mm-hmm.
Every time we talk about, if you will, the stars of the game or who played well or who had to step up in a moment, oftentimes it's a different player than the previous game. Oftentimes it's not a guy, it's 2 and 3 guys. And it's nothing for us to look at box scores now and see where Florida State has 4, 5, 6 guys scoring either in double figures or close to it. They really are balanced in that way. And I know people worry that in crunch time, if you don't have a go-to guy, it can occasionally hurt you. Well, it can, but by and large, knowing that you're not dependent on a singular entity to score is a very good thing. You can have Terrence Mann have a night in which he scores 2 points and you can still win the game.
Yeah.
Forrest can have a night where he scores 4 to 6 points, but does so many other things that don't show up in the stat sheet, and you win the game. Phil Kofor can carry you for a half and turn around the second half and have it be Cabangeli. You have guys, lots of them, in fact, that help this team win games.
Well, yeah, who can score 10 of 12 points when you really need them? Phil Kofor is certainly a player, and that's why it's so important that he comes back and he looks at least as mentally sharp as he does, and he should be able to play 15 minutes in ACC to 20 without breaking a sweat right now.
Yeah.
It's just about the extra extended time in the second half that he's going to have to build up to. But then how about the minutes that Polite gave you and the 6 straight points he scores when the game is really tight? That's what you're looking for.
Really good second half. Yeah, absolutely. And
the drive to his left, the free throws, and then the steal, plus the 360 in transition when he loses control of the ball. Now, he's going to drive you nuts. I think that's always going to be the case because he makes a killer move on the baseline. Looks like he gets a sniper that shoots him in the legs. And he goes, he's going in for a dunk.
Yeah.
And somehow he ends up face first smacking the court. But, man, that guy is a wild card for you and can only lift you.
Yeah, he's going to get better and better and better. And Vassell scores 8 points as well. Very quietly, we just go, oh, yeah, he had 8 points too. We've got guys. Polite, Vassell, you mentioned a moment ago. So look, MJ Walker will be set to return. I mean, you got lots of things.
Oh, yeah, MJ Walker. That's the position we're in right now with our depth.
It's a really cool position to be in. It's noticeable every time we play a game. Now, anyhow, you get into to the good stuff. You get into playing in a league that there are no gimmies or very few. And if you're off on a particular night, the middle to bottom third of this conference can beat you. And I watched some of Virginia Tech last night, and what they brought to the table with their offense. It's a tough league, and you're going to lose some games. Even when you think you're the better team, you're going to lose some games. And so we're at a place where at 12-1, you could go probably 8-10 in the conference. I know I wouldn't advise doing that, but you probably could do that and still make the tournament. You'd have 20 wins. Your out-of-conference schedule was a lot better this year than last. You would probably have enough significant wins in that scenario that you would get in. But I do like that when you go through the gauntlet and you've come out so far at 12-1 and you're about to enter into this with the ACC, that the bigger picture is the talking point, not an individual game. When you're caught up in winning a big game, say against Duke or Virginia, and then you don't win it, and people, in previous years freak out and say, that was your chance. That's usually a talking point that follows teams who have to really shock you, surprise you with 4 or 5 huge wins against RPI opponents that are significantly upgrades over what you currently sit at. And that's not the program we are now. The tournament almost, and it's never an afterthought at a place like this without getting conceded, right? But the tournament is almost something now that you are, at least the last couple of years, safely assuming to make. And now you're jockeying. Now you're trying to figure out, well, what are we within that field? Not, are we going to make that field?
What I'd say is the difference between winning 8 and 9 conference games is massive this year because I don't know what implications the NET, the net rankings, are going to have over the RPI, and will the committee take them seriously? Because they look seriously flawed right now, but will the committee ignore the flaws because that's the way the NCAA wants to get it done? Or will they list them and cite them when they do their first 16, they do the preview rankings that they do, and then completely ignore them on Selection Sunday? But you don't want to leave that up to chance right now because these rankings are flawed, and I think if Florida State won merely 8 conference games, we wouldn't like the number where we are in the rankings.
Well, we'd have to find out, and we'll see. It depends on who you beat, who your 8 wins against. I would also note that, you can make a case against Florida State being a top 10 team right now. You can make a case that this is going to translate to a really good conference run. And by really good, I mean 10-8. 11-7, something like that. I mean, we're still not the blue bloods of the conference. We're not Duke.
Yeah, a top 10 team legitimately threatens 12 to 13 conference wins. But I don't know. I think the ranking may be a little kind to us right now. But
our wins, our big wins, are over Florida, I guess, LSU, Purdue, UConn. Those aren't great wins now, looking back on it.
No, but they required a lot of chutzpah, which is we're battle-tested in those key pressure moments. But
Except for the Florida win. The Florida win was very easy.
Oh, the Florida win?
Yeah,
oh, well, I'm sorry. I'm just thinking about
You're thinking about the other ones.
I'm thinking
LSU,
about
Purdue,
the neutral
UConn.
site games.
Yeah.
And the,
No. The Florida win was a breeze. In fact, they could bring us down. But the other ones.
Well, I just assured that. I chalk that up. That's ink every year. You can put that in ink.
It's the Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Need help moving? 2 Men and a Truck Tallahassee provides professional home and business move services, both locally and long distance. For your next move, visit 2men.com or call them at 850-224-2232. 2 Men and a Truck, the movers who care.
I'm Michael Blank, attorney with the law office of Jose Fernandez. If you've been in an accident, I know this can be a scary and confusing time. Our firm specializes in handling all types of accident and injury cases. Let us guide you through the process and get you the compensation you deserve. Call 855-HOSE-305 to make an appointment for your free consultation today. If you can't come to us, we can come to you, day or night. Call us now, 855-HOSE-305, the law office of Jose Fernandez. We don't get paid unless you do. Offices, Tallahassee, Miami. Se habla español. JRFinjury.com.
Together, we can turn a stairwell into an ER at a moment's notice. Together, we can turn a rescue ship for refugees into a maternity ward. Together, we can vaccinate 710,000 people in just 11 days. Together, we are Doctors Without Borders. Doctors Without Borders goes where others don't to provide life-saving medical care. Learn more at doctorswithoutborders.org.
I'm traveling a lot, always have a craving for Whataburger. I had to make a connection in Houston, had about an hour. Whataburger just opened at Terminal B. Boom, I need to have a patty melt. The creamy pepper sauce, Monterey Jack cheese, bread's toasted. Grabbed my patty melt, started rushing it back. By the time I got there, the lady was just closing the door. She sees my bag, she goes, sorry, but if you give me your Whataburger, I'll let you on the plane. And I told her, book me on to the next flight. And I was late for work, but it was worth every bite. I don't think anything tops a patty melt at Whataburger.
Front Row Knowles, featuring Tom Block and Keith Jones, is brought to you by Hobson Chevrolet in Cairo, Georgia. Get your best deal the Hobson way. Catch Front Row Knowles every Wednesday night at 6, right here on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Hi, Chris Kraft for Kraft Nissan, wishing everyone a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Well, this is it, the end of the year, and Nissan has pulled out all the stops with not just huge rebates and 0% on most 2019 models, but the addition of holiday bonus cash now through January 2nd. You've heard me say how aggressively we are discounting the 2019s, but listen to this. Kraft Nissan will sell our 100 remaining 2018s at unheard of below invoice prices. Told my managers to take all reasonable offers and move out all 2018s by the close of business January 2nd. Not only that, but next month your trade will be a year older. So if you've been thinking of trading, your trade will never be worth more than right now, up to $2,000 more. So whether you're bargain hunting for a 2018 or looking for the latest 2019 model, you need to put Kraft Nissan on your holiday shopping list. This is not an end of the month sale. This is the year-end super sale. So hurry to Kraft Nissan because time is running out on 2018 and savings like these only come along once a year. Happy holidays from our family to yours. Kraft Nissan on Mahan Drive between Academy Sports and Costco.
Sunday, it's the wild card round of the NFL playoffs as we bring you a special doubleheader. Hi, this is Scott Graham. Join me and the rest of our Westwood One crew for all the action. First, Phillip Rivers and the Chargers take on the Ravens and their league-leading defense. Then the Eagles head to Chicago to defend their Super Bowl title against the Bears. The NFL playoffs are right here.
On 97.9 ESPN Radio, Tallahassee's sports monster. Rattler Review, hosted by the Tallahassee Democrats' Rory Chirac, every Friday at 6 p.m. right here on 97.9 ESPN Radio, Tallahassee's sports monster.
ESPN Radio Sports Center.
I'm Christine Lisi. At this hour, a lack of communication was the reason star receiver Antonio Brown did not play in the Steelers' must-win against the Bengals on Sunday. This according to Coach Mike Tomlin. Tomlin, at his end-of-season news conference today, explained that after Friday, it became increasingly difficult to communicate with Brown, who didn't show up on Saturday. And despite a call Sunday from his agent that he was ready to play, Tomlin said that was not on the menu for Brown. When asked if he thought Brown quit on the Steelers, Tomlin responded, quote, "You can call it what you want," end quote. Pittsburgh defensive end Cam Hayward.
We all want AB here. But to be a part of this team, you can't do that. You don't let your brothers down. And it hurt more knowing that there are multiple guys in that locker room giving everything they got. And I'll never question what AB does on that field. But not going full strength and still not doing it, that's what hurt more.
Cam Hayward on the DVE Morning Show. The future of Giants quarterback Eli Manning in New York remains uncertain. GM Dave Gettleman declined to commit to the soon-to-be 38-year-old Manning for next season at this point, and would not say who the Giants starting QB will be for 2019. Oklahoma receiver Marquise Brown, a cousin of Antonio Brown, announced he's entering the upcoming NFL draft. ESPN's Mel Kiper Jr. ranks Brown as the top prospect at wide receiver and has him at number 18 on his big board for the draft. NBA, no Kyrie Irving for the Celtics tonight. The guard is out against the Timberwolves with a scratched right eye. That's the first game of the Wednesday doubleheader, 8 Eastern on ESPN TV and the ESPN app, followed by the Lakers and Thunder, 10:30 Eastern. LA's LeBron James remains sidelined by a strained groin. Capitals captain Alex Ovechkin skipping NHL All-Star Weekend to rest for the second half of the season. He'll have to miss one regular season game before or after the break per league rules.
Broadcasting live from the Tallahassee Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat Studios in the capital city of Tallahassee. This is the Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Cornerstone Tool and Fastener on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Dana Holgorsen telling West Virginia to have a good one. Gonna take it to Houston. Whew. That'll hurt your feelings. You're a Power 5 team in the Big 12, and my man's like, yeah, I'm gonna go to Houston.
It's all right. We can get Saban. We'll get him, bring him back home.
Well, they've reached an agreement on a 5-year deal worth $20 million. He's the highest paid coach amongst now the group of 5 conferences. And again, that's what we get back to. It's not a surprise that they fired Major Applewhite. He was terrible. Thanks for the 15-11 and the 70-14 ass beating.
Yeah, that it looked like a group that was spiraling out of control well before the bowl game even started.
Well, yeah, give me the jacket. I mean, come on, man. What are you doing? That's not going to get it done. So that's not surprising, but you lose your head coach from a Power 5 to a group of 5.
Our job is to make money, and you're yelling at me about toner. You know, that's what your job is to win football games, and you're yelling at me about a jacket, sir.
Yeah.
Sir.
Well, you know, I would say this. That's a move where you could tell he was saying, perhaps, I got to get to a city. Like a real city. I've got to leave here, the sticks, and take it to a city.
Even if it is overly concrete, it is the exact opposite of the sticks, isn't it?
Right. No, that's I've seen all I need to see at West Virginia. I'm taking it on down the road here. Just saying. That's what else could it be about?
He knew that they were about to fall apart, and so he wanted to take a job before he gets fired, and it's harder to get a replacement gig as a head coach?
Well, you're talking about something that is commonly referred to as resetting, you know, restarting the clock, if you will. And coaches are always looking for an opportunity to restart the clock. If the love affair has waned between the fan base and yourself, and you are middling to slightly above average for too long a period of time, even your successes go underappreciated. So at some point, the call to see you replaced is going to grow louder. And, you get a chance now. You get all the happy, warm, and fuzzy feelings all over again, good money, and you get to get the hell out of West Virginia and move to Houston. And,
Think about it this way. Beyond just the money grab, people were scratching their heads last year at why Jimbo would leave Florida State for Texas A&M, given the program's histories, especially in the last 30, 40 years. But if you look at that situation from the outside, not from Florida State or Texas A&M's perspective, you could see the same thing that maybe Dana Holgorsen is doing at West Virginia, which is this. It ain't going to get any better there. It's about to get really bad there. And so I'm not going to be held responsible for the horrible come to Jesus that we're about to experience. I'm going to get out.
They got beat by Iowa State. They got beat. They won a thrilling game against Texas, 42-41, which is also a head scratcher if you're a Texas fan. Your defense, and that game was in Texas.
They went for 2 to close it out. Yeah,
it was funny when they did it too. Yelled at the fans afterwards, but that's still where the inconsistencies at Texas still happen to Tom Herman. But they got beat by Oklahoma State. That's a bad loss. West Virginia is that tent of suspicion team, but I don't even put them in that because they're not really in the same category as some of the other squads that I'm now putting in that tent of suspicion. I put Wisconsin there pretty much annually. These days, I think I got to put Washington there because I love you, Washington, but come on, man.
Oh, you're good for a backdoor cover, I suppose.
They lost to Oklahoma, and then they got beat thoroughly by Syracuse in this bowl game without Will Greer. So West Virginia had a middling-type year, and there were a lot of expectations coming into this season, to your point about why you would maybe leave West Virginia and go to Houston.
That's what I'm saying. Is like, look at the over-under next year and probably take the under. He knows what's coming. It's like when Jimbo left. Oh, my God. That's the offensive line?
Well, and he knew that he had not done anything about it in recruiting. And, and Jimbo's frustrations and truth had begun to boil over before that.
Let Willie hold the bag for it and let him put it on the backs of his defensive players and call it a turnover bag.
Well, Jimbo, that is, along with increasingly being, frustrated and almost maniacal at the end, but with the off-the-field stuff that, he disagreed with the boosters about, he also had stopped recruiting the position offensive line. He just stopped recruiting it. I mean, my man. And he didn't want to fire his friends. And so, he had tried to get out to go to LSU 2 years in a row, and then the A&M job opens up, and it's unlimited funds. The thing, you got to be careful, though, with that. First of all, you're going to the SEC West. Good luck. Secondly, unlimited funds, unlimited resources, everything at your disposal, a recruiting-rich state. If you don't win and win big, it is solely on you.
Right, inverse relationship between funding and patience. People will be patient in Tallahassee when Bobby Bowden is building a program from the ground up. But if they're expecting, and they've got all the accoutrement, right, in College Station, everything. And if you need something, it'll be ready in 6 months. So, yeah. But it'll be interesting to watch the state of Texas and how the recruiting battles go between Herman and Jimbo, because they can both pitch hope still.
Oh, yeah, they absolutely can. And that wasn't a talentless roster at A&M, to say the least. He inherited a glorious situation. I mean, recruiting wasn't the problem at A&M.
I think the biggest thing he did was get Elko in terms of, improving his chances.
Who we really have to hope will take a head coaching job soon and move it on down the road. Of course, it helped to inherit a 5-star, versatile, dual-threat quarterback. It's a pretty good thing to walk into.
Who didn't have some sort of problem off the field.
He had a glorious situation.
It wasn't a red flag like a year out when he committed to the program.
No.
Nor did he have a backup quarterback that you had to run out because of some sort of incident at a bar. Yeah.
Yeah, the job switches and who's going where and why continue to be a fun topic of conversation. It includes the one that centers around Harbaugh, which who in their right mind is looking at Harbaugh? They were talking about the Bucs. What? Why? That's not a big, profound get. My man has horribly underachieved at Michigan. They play teams with a pulse. They're horrible. Hour number 2, fourth company. Stay with.
The NFL playoffs as we bring you a special doubleheader. Hi, this is Scott Graham. Join me and the rest of our Westwood One crew for all the action. First, it's an AFC South matchup as the Colts and Texans meet in Houston. Then, Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys host Russell Wilson and the Seattle Seahawks. The NFL playoffs are right here.
On 97.9 ESPN Radio, Tallahassee's sports monster.
Time now for your Tampa Bay Lightning Minute, brought to you by Township of Tallahassee.
As the Tampa Bay Lightning get set for their game Thursday nights against the LA Kings, the team can reflect back on 2018 and be very proud of what they accomplished. In addition to having the best record in the NHL, the Lightning has now gone 14-0-1 on their 15-game point streak and 17-1-1 over their last 19 games. They also finished December with a 13-0-1 record. Nikita Kucherov finished the month of December with 21 assists and 30 points, and John Cooper knows what his team accomplished in December was pretty special.
When you're hot, and it just seemed like everybody was getting hot at the same time. And I think Kuch may had over 30 points in the month, that's remarkable. But he's working at it. It's you got to take advantage of when times like this happen, and he's definitely doing that. But a lot of guys playing the right way, and fun to watch him play.
With your Lightning Report, I'm Greg Linnelli.
At Township and College Town, for the table, by the people, is not just lip service, it's their mantra. Tallahassee's largest beer hall offers draft served in steins and a unique twist on upscale pub fare. Just walk up and order for the table and grab a seat by the people. Some you may not even know. If you're looking for a more intimate gathering, Township offers The Garden, a unique setting to Tallahassee complete with outdoor fireplace and a retractable awning. Oh, and let's not forget the 32 taps and private bar. Book it for your next party or company event. Township Tallahassee, 619 Woodward Avenue in College Town.
Are you interested in helping your son or daughter take their athletic performance to the next level? Hi, my name is Louis Dobosensky, personal trainer at Momentum Fitness on Capitol Circle. With over 14 years of experience training athletes at the high school and collegiate levels, including SMU, LSU, and here at Florida State, I can help you do just that. Call Momentum Fitness today at 850-385-9712 to set up your free consultation with me today. Again, that number is 850-385-9712.
Hi, welcome to this Subway ad for our all-new Ultimate Cheesy Garlic Bread. How would you like it?
I'll take the Ultimate Bromance.
Extra broy?
Yeah, definitely.
Bro, this ultimate spicy Italian made with ultimate cheesy garlic bread?
I know, bro.
So much melted mozzarella.
And this garlic butter spread, I can't take it, bro.
You know what this calls for.
Bro hug?
It's like we share the same brain, bro.
Bring it in.
Subway, make it what you want. Limited time only at participating restaurants.
Are you ready to experience an awesome fishing expedition? Sea Quarters Marina is home to several great charter services. All charters are customized based upon the types of fishing opportunities available and the type of fishing the customer requests. The Northwest Gulf Coast offers a variety of different angling adventures thanks to unspoiled back county islands and crystal clear flats. For more information regarding charters, call Sea Quarters Marina at 697-8400 or online at seaquartersmarina.com.
Games for Less, the only locally owned and operated gaming store in town, has Tallahassee's largest selection of new and used video games and game systems. The future of video gaming is at Games for Less, where they have both the PS4 and Xbox One. It's time to trade in your old systems and elevate your gaming experience now. Games for Less is also your headquarters for the best in retro gaming. Atari 2600, original Nintendo, Super NES, or Sega Genesis, you name it. They got it at Games for Less. Games for Less, the Super Walmart Shopping Center on Appalachia Parkway. Give them a call today at 850-219-3535. That's Games for Less.
Driving every day from the Tallahassee Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat Studios. This is 97.9 ESPN Radio, WTSM, Woodville, Thomasville, Tallahassee.
ESPN Radio Sports Center.
I'm Christine Lisi. At this hour, a lack of communication was the reason star receiver Antonio Brown did not play in the Steelers' must-win against the Bengals on Sunday. This according to Coach Mike Tomlin. Tomlin, at his end-of-season news conference today, explained that after Friday, it became increasingly difficult to communicate with Brown, who didn't show up on Saturday. And despite a call Sunday from his agent that he was ready to play, Tomlin said that was not on the menu for Brown. When asked if he thought Brown quit on the Steelers, Tomlin responded, quote, "You can call it what you want," end quote. Pittsburgh defensive end Cam Hayward.
We all want AB here. But to be a part of this team, you can't do that. You don't let your brothers down. And it hurt more knowing that there are multiple guys in that locker room giving everything they got. And I'll never question what AB does on that field. But not going full strength and still not doing it, that's what hurt more.
Cam Hayward on the DVE Morning Show. The future of Giants quarterback Eli Manning in New York remains uncertain. GM Dave Gettleman declined to commit to the soon-to-be 38-year-old Manning for next season at this point, and would not say who the Giants starting QB will be for 2019. Oklahoma receiver Marquise Brown, a cousin of Antonio Brown, announced he's entering the upcoming NFL draft. ESPN's Mel Kiper Jr. ranks Brown as the top prospect at wide receiver and has him at number 18 on his big board for the draft. NBA, no Kyrie Irving for the Celtics tonight. The guard is out against the Timberwolves with a scratched right eye. That's the first game of the Wednesday doubleheader, 8 Eastern on ESPN TV and the ESPN app, followed by the Lakers and Thunder, 10:30 Eastern. LA's LeBron James remains sidelined by a strained groin. Capitals captain Alex Ovechkin skipping NHL All-Star Weekend to rest for the second half of the season. He'll have to miss one regular season game before or after the break per league rules.
Broadcasting live from the Tallahassee Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat studios in the capital city of Tallahassee. This is the Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Cornerstone Tool and Fastener on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Hour number 2, Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio. Great to be with you. Happy New Year. Hope you're well, everybody. How cool is it? Have you been watching this, following this? Raymond Woody III, Travis J, and these other kids, their diaries at the Under Armour game. The reason it's cool is you get to hear, like, if you just read that stuff, and I'm always looking just to see, are we going to get any new commits? That's the only reason I'm looking at it. I'm not going to watch that thing, but I'm watching to see, like, is anybody going to commit to Florida State that's in that group? Obviously a ton of talent there at the Under Armour. And so I was just catching up during the break, and I was reading through. I'd seen some of this before. They had Diary Part 1 on warchant.com and Diary Part 2. And, yeah, it's what them kids doing, right? But it's pretty cool when you read in there that they're getting to work with people like Deion Sanders and Ed Reed. And I imagine, you know, in this case, if you're a defensive back, can you imagine? It's got to be mesmerizing. If you've ever, here's the thing. Over the years, I've said a lot of different things about Deion Sanders. Some good, some bad, some in the middle. There's no questioning his status as one of the all-time greats at the position, if not the best of all time, and his Hall of Fame status. But when you listen to him on NFL Network, when it involves technique, when it involves strategy, when it involves footwork, hand positioning, any number of things, it's spot on awesome. And to listen to him, you learn something. So when he's in that role, I especially like him. So I can only imagine you're a corner, you're a safety, and you're learning from Ed Reed or you're learning from Deion Sanders. How, you know, if you have a love of the game and a passion for what you're doing, and this is something now where you look upon it as the opportunity to learn from the very best, those two guys, the very best to ever do it, it's got to be a thrill of a lifetime.
And they're probably your dad's heroes, right?
Without question. Yeah, you've heard stories about them time and again. And Ed Reed played recent enough where if you're a little kid,
yeah,
you would have seen him play.
You would have seen
You
him,
would not have seen Deion play, but you would have seen Ed Reed play.
If your dad's a fan of Florida State or is a fan of Miami, certainly, you know, they would be in that conversation. Yeah, of course, Ed Reed is a generation later than Deion. But
right.
Yeah, I mean, as long as they're all just committed to working together to get kids to flip to Florida State, that's what I care about.
Well, it looks like the Henderson kid, a lot of people think he's going to be coming to Florida State.
Yeah.
And so, you know, knock on wood. You're right. That's all I ever hope for. If I see a kid's name, I'm not aware of what he did in high school. I'm just looking to see what is he, what are his measurables, you know, he's 6'5", 6'3", whatever he is. What does he play? What's he run? Okay, great. I'm going to trust that the evaluators will know enough to know whether or not he can catch, whether or not he has the requisite skills to be at a Florida State.
Well, and as we come to the end of the dead period here and we get through this Under Armour game, I wonder the impact of a Kendall Briles as a hire,
right.
You know, on the trail. We're going to find out. There are still some high-profile kids out there, and is Briles good enough to recruit not just on the offensive side, but is the buzz strong enough to get some defensive guys who might be wavering to say, well, all right, I certainly like what they're doing over there. This is an impressive hire because new, shiny things appeal to kids. And Miami certainly is going to try and push and do the exact same thing now that Manny Diaz is the head man, and he's going to try and bring in an offensive coordinator of his own of note.
Yeah, did you catch his interview? Obviously, for those, again, that didn't catch the Monday show, we were on Monday, so we've had opportunities to talk about some of the events that transpired while we were away for the holidays. It's not the first time we're back on the air, but, you know, obviously the other big story that's impactful to Florida State and the state of Florida in general and college football on the whole is Mark Richt's sudden departure of Miami, walking away, Manny Diaz, his sudden departure of Temple to go back to Miami, and how that will affect recruiting, if at all, and what the Canes are able to salvage after a disastrous end of the season.
Manny's legacy does have more integrity, though, than Urban Meyer's does at Ohio State. So his Temple legacy has more integrity.
I would agree with that. Now, having said that, you go back to these players and who to keep an eye on. And, again, I don't know who a lot of these guys are, especially since you're talking about people who are pushing for the 2020 class and things like that. You're going to look at so-and-so, Robbie Ashford, for the 2020 QB class. Oh, okay. I'm not looking for that. I want to know who can help us now.
Well, Robbie Ashford's going to change everything.
He could. He might. Not going to say he isn't. Don't know who he is. Just saw the name. But that's not the name, and those aren't the positions that I'm looking at. I see OT or DT, and I go, ooh, who are you? I need to investigate a little bit further. Who is Timothy Smith? Who are you? First visit was to FSU. Got Clemson, Alabama, Florida, and LSU on the list. Okay. Yes. Immediately, I would be in the golf cart. They would be looking for Robbie Ashford. I would go, hey, Timmy, Jeff Cameron, good to see you. How you doing, buddy? Let me talk to you about Florida State University.
Come take a ride on Process 1.
Yeah, I'm looking there. I'm not looking at those other guys. And then I would say,
may I interest you in an Arnold Palmer?
You and Warren Brinson, hop on in here. Let's have a conversation. I'm going to turn on a little music for you. Why don't you open up that bag?
Don't tear it.
Nope, just look on in there. Oh, no, sir, you can go on and look at the Sanders kid at quarterback. We're just solely giving a ride to defensive and offensive tackles. That's all we're doing.
Hey, Coach, what's in that bag?
Nothing. As I was saying. Yeah, that's where we need to be. How are you, Warren? Well, and you, Timmy, tell me more about yourself. Clemson's got loads of talented defensive tackle. You know who doesn't? That's why you're in the car, Timmy. Justin Rogers. Is that Justin Rogers over there, Timmy? Let's go say hi to Justin Rogers. Looks like he's a 2020 offensive line recruit.
Could be your new best friend.
Could be. There's a bag with his name on it. Grab that. Bring it on up here for when he hops in. So we'll monitor that and see if any of these guys, in particular offensive and defensive linemen, are on the cusp of saying yes to Florida State University. That's all in. All in. Commitment to excellence, Tom.
Hope you got the wholesale box of pancakes, man. Let's do it. Let's mix them up. A little Bisquick action.
Well, it's true, though, when you're watching these games. Like I was watching Ohio State, and I'm watching, obviously, Alabama and Clemson and Georgia and any of these other schools, even ones that didn't necessarily have banner years and are still on the climb. When you're trying to compare and contrast to where we are and where we're trying to go and where they are and whom we're going to be competing against, too frequently you find yourself absolutely outmanned, in particular on the offensive line, or even depth of quality talent on the defensive line. It's not as if Florida State hasn't had very good defensive linemen come through here in recent memory. They have. Without question, we've been able to produce a lot of NFL talent. But when you see the kind of depth of quality talent at the position that the best teams have, you realize we're lacking there right now, and we are especially lacking there on the offensive line. It's not even close. So, I mean, that's not even competitive.
Man,
not even competitive.
Remember when we had in 2012, that was when we were really recruiting like crazy. But you had Brandon Jenkins, Bjorn Werner, and Tank Carradine and Dan Hicks.
But you got to remember, Tank Carradine is a JUCO guy, and so we weren't sure that he was going to come in and do anything great. But you're right, he ended up having.
Well, they add to the depth, though. I mean,
without question, and I'm all in on that front too. I mean, I'm
it's
not
an important front to be right now.
Yes, a very important front to be in.
Be present upon.
And so you can make a run at that even and then recruit, over top of them. But in terms of numbers, yeah, you might need to do it. Just sheer size, depth of size. I mean, I'm not talking about an impact player that I'm expecting to pluck from the junior college ranks at defensive tackle. There may be a couple out there, but I'm saying a guy that can give me 10 good reps? Can you give me 15 snaps? Can you give me 12 snaps a game? Can I rotate you in as part of my group that involves Cooper and Marvin and all those guys?
That'll be interesting to see next year. Is that rotation? Who are the next men up? Is Durden going to take a step? Is he going to develop in the weight training program a little bit for his redshirt sophomore season? And if not, who else? Who else will be part of that rotation?
He waned. His level of play really fell off.
It's Coop and Marvin Wilson. Those are your front line, and that's as good as any.
They're big, strong guys, but you got to have more of them. And so I will be that. In that sense, people ask you about, how much of recruiting do you cover? Well, I mean, from afar, I let the recruiting sides do what they do, but obviously I'm keen in on certain positions and just hoping that we're able to fill and stockpile, because that's the thing. You see a lot of teams have frontline talent, but they don't have the depth of frontline talent that allows them to be in games in the second half against your upper crust programs in the Power Five.
Yeah, I think that's where watching the Sugar Bowl last night, I think that's the difference between Georgia and Texas is if that game goes on, the longer it goes, the more Georgia is going to end up imposing its will. But Texas got out in front of it. Motivation was a factor. But you can see frontline players for frontline players.
Oh, they're there.
They're there.
Yeah.
And I think we are the front four. Our front four next year, which will have Kando and Peters on the edge. And then the interior, you got Big Marv and Big Coop.
Well, we got to find out if those two, Kando and Peters, are going to emerge as stars the way they're projected to be. We'd like to believe that, but
at first blush, Peters looks like he is going to be, yes.
At first blush, they do, but we've seen a lot of guys come in and kind of, whoa, what's that? And then it doesn't happen because development has been lacking as well. So we're identifying lots of problems. And it's incredibly frustrating, but it's also something that can quickly turn around, as we've seen. It just takes the right kind of guys. And I do think that the guys that have already committed, there may be a couple of those quote-unquote right kinds of guys for the locker room as well as the talent, because just the way they're vocal already, some of the things that they talk about being part of the solution and wanting to go along for that ride and kind of setting the tone. And then we know Marvin is. He is unquestionably a leader and a guy that is going to give you everything he's got on every single snap, and he will be probably the leader going into next season.
Yeah, what's interesting is when Willie was hired, one of the things that you highlighted first and we liked about him was his talking point about, I'm trying to recruit over you.
Right.
You come here and you need to take a job, but then it's my job. I'm not doing my job if I don't find players who can take yours from you.
Yeah.
We didn't really hear a whole lot of that last year. It was more about, all right, let's work with what we got here more than – freshmen are coming in, and if they take your gig, they take your gig, too bad. But it certainly sounds like the coaching staff is more than willing to allow these guys to espouse the message. We're going to change the culture. This Tribe 19 class is going to change the culture, be it Dante Lucas on the offensive line or any number of these defensive backs that are talking right now that are at Under Armour. They're all saying the same thing.
It's hard because when you go about the process of blaming the student-athlete, in college, you can come across as kind of having lost your way because they're, in the eyes of many, kids. But they're not kids. I mean, in some cases, 21, 22 years old, but
they're amateurs.
But they're amateurs, and
sort of.
And you get to be my age, they're kids, right? And you kind of look at them as that, and you think about the immaturity levels and what you're able to overcome in time, and perspective that's gained through that. But there's no doubt that we all greatly, and that includes perhaps Willie and his staff, underestimated the level to which that locker room was infected and the need to cleanse and the need to get, healthy addition by subtraction. You got to go get better players. There's no doubt. Got to go find kids that are, of a better, more elite status, if you will, at position by position. That's just true of every year and every effort to recruit. But you have to get good kids in that locker room, and where quit can't happen, and everybody holds each other accountable, and the ownership is on the onus of the guys in that group. They take it. Jimbo used to preach it, and I hate to keep referencing him, but he's just a couple years removed. He would talk about the best teams. Obviously, they go out, you go out and find the best players and try to convince them to say yes to your school. All right, Jimmy's and Joe's argument. Got it. Got to have better players. But once that happens, you're forever looking to hand it over to them, that they have to take ownership of the team. And you're hoping to put in place a lot of things that leading up to that ensure that you have the culture you want once they take ownership of it. And it's almost then on autopilot. Your best players are holding everybody else accountable. They're looked up to as the standard. They also can play. So, first of all, you can't be a leader if you're not out on the field. So if a Jameis Winston or a Timmy Jernigan is yelling, or a LaMarcus Joyner, about something, you're going to listen to them because they're really good players, and obviously they have taken ownership of that team. That's who is keeping everybody in line. And I just don't know. I mean, you try to identify it with this last team. You just don't have it. It's not there.
Maybe it could have been Cam, but, he could never get started. So that was the end of that.
Well, and I don't think it could have been, in that not only could he not get started, but, apparently, and it was revealed in as much as, it was described by Willie Taggart late in the year that they saw a difference, a switch that had been turned on, something, some sort of motivator, a moment of clarity in which Cam was spending the extra time. Looking at film and at practice and after practice and all of that. Well, what was going on before that? What was going on with all the promises that I had heard in the preseason? So clearly he hadn't come all the way on board. And so, you have to hope that in year 2 is something we're going to see that's tangible, that there are enough guys that have taken ownership and they are the standard and leading the way.
There's a couple of terms I've heard or phrases, and one of them, the hockey team that I followed, Tampa Bay Lightning, John Cooper, when he's mad about a lack of accountability, he says there's a lot of passengers. There's a ton of passengers right now. Nobody wants to drive this thing. And we got to have some people want to drive this thing.
It's a hard thing to do, too.
And last night, Tom Herman in the on the dais.
I know what you're alluding to, yeah.
He was saying that this is now a player-led locker room, not a coaching-led program or locker room.
Yes, because they took ownership of it.
Right.
Yeah, that's exactly what he meant. Good point, because I heard that comment as well, and I thought, you know what? That's what Jimbo thought after we won the Orange Bowl against Northern Illinois, that it was happening. That it was about to happen, that enough of those guys.
It's happening. I'm doing the hand gesture, sorry.
At Jay Cameron Show, what are your thoughts on the Dugans talk again? Do you think Bryles will have a say in whether or not he gets a shot? The problem with Ron Dugans is who you're referencing, Ryan, and we wanted him to come here as a receiver coach. Obviously, he was a great player here. I remember the entirety of his career and great Sugar Bowl against Virginia Tech, et cetera. But there are mitigating circumstances with that have to do with his private life and his wife and their family. And that's I'm not trying to get into his private life, but there are situations that, along with the football, that led to him being in Miami.
Last year, but it's interesting because if Manny Diaz cuts bait, then you have a different question fundamentally. It's not about the option being on the board. And I did see, according to War Chant, that Bryles did okay the hire if that's the hire that we want to make. So it's just a matter of, does he want to do it? And will he be retained? And I don't think he's going to be. I think Manny Diaz came out and said the offensive coaches are going to be new, but they retained the entire defensive staff, save for one addition because he got the promotion to head coach from being DC.
Oh, no. I just wanted to make it clear that there are circumstances that don't allow me to give you a better answer. That's what I mean. I mean, you're right. He could lose the job there, and then he'd be free. And if we wanted him, that'd be a great hire. I'm not saying that. I'm saying those family concerns that have to do with off-the-field stuff are a factor that I can't really know anything about. I mean, it's not like I'm calling him asking him about that. So we'll find out. I would love to have Ron Dugans. He's a guy that I have immense respect for. I certainly did as a player, and I think he's a good football coach. So, yeah, I would be.
It would be interesting to see, too, if you get Clements, Bryles, and Dugans, just how different the tenor of practice is on offense. We'll find out what Bryles is all about. But remember, from the word go last year, clearly the coaching staff looked at this team and they said they're broken mentally, and so we've got to be arms around the shoulder here in order to build their spirits back up. Did it work? No, it failed. But I understand the logic of what they were trying to do.
Yeah, they swung and missed. They were hoping that they could kind of ease everybody together into something that didn't resemble the brokenness of a year ago, and instead, because they didn't go scorched earth, because they didn't start anew and rid themselves of the cancer in the locker room completely and risk ruffling feathers, it continued on into a season till where eventually it was lost and you realized you had made a mistake and been conned.
What I find interesting is, so how does practice look? If you're going to turn the keys over to Kendall, that means at least offensive drills are going to look a certain way, the way Kendall Briles wants them to look, right?
He wants to go light speed too. So
Yes, he does. But I mean, militaristic style versus relaxed style. I mean, how does it look and sound when he's directing drills? When he's he wants to put the periods together that he wants done in order to get the offense to run the way he wants the offense to run. How does it impact the tenor of practice?
Yeah, sure.
From what was a very positive place to be this last season.
You asking whether or not they're going to have music and practice stuff?
No, I'm not. I don't give a damn about the music. What I give a damn about is Kendall Briles going to be like Jimbo screaming people down after every rep?
Right.
Or is he going to be like this staff, which is telling everybody, good job, man. Keep your head up high and celebrate when you make a good play. I don't know. You don't have to be on either end of that spectrum. You could be somewhere in the middle, but it's going to be different, right? It
has to be different. I would think the head coach, as much as he wanted to do things the way that he wanted to do them, would want it to be different as well.
And music can play while that's going on. I don't give a
Music
damn about the music.
It has nothing to do with nothing. Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Sunday, it's the wild card round of the NFL playoffs as we bring you a special doubleheader. Hi, this is Scott Graham. Join me and the rest of our Westwood One crew for all the action. First, Phillip Rivers and the Chargers take on the Ravens and their league-leading defense. Then the Eagles head to Chicago to defend their Super Bowl title against the Bears. The NFL playoffs are right here.
On 97.9 ESPN Radio, Tallahassee's sports monster.
With a Bloomberg Business of Sports report, I'm Michael Barr. The New York Yankees are in talks with Amazon and Sinclair Broadcasting Group about teaming up to bid for the team's regional sports YES network. That's according to the Wall Street Journal. The Yankees own 20% of YES and have first dibs on buying the remaining 80% from the Walt Disney Company. A tattoo may be on an athlete, but the athlete doesn't necessarily own the tattoo, and that's a problem for video game developers. For instance, among several tattoos, NBA star LeBron James has his mother's name, Gloria, on a crown on his right shoulder. Although those tattoos have personal connections, they may not truly be his. According to the U.S. Copyright Office, any creative illustration fixed in a tangible medium is eligible for copyright, and that includes the ink displayed on someone's skin. And that means the copyright is inherently owned by the tattoo artist, not the person with the tattoos. And that is a Bloomberg Business of Sports report. I'm Michael Barr.
What does building a better bank look like? It starts with building Capital One cafes, warm, inviting places that feel nothing like a typical bank, where you can open an account with no fees or minimums in 5 minutes. And you'll always find people ready to help you, not sell you. Welcome to Banking Reimagined. What's in your wallet?
For consumers only. Offered by Capital One and a member FDIC. Cafes available in select locations. Copyright 2018 Capital One.
Not getting the yardage you used to? Try some Blue Emu Continuous Spray or Maximum Arthritis Pain Relief Cream now. Stop throwing Hail Marys at relief. Both are non-greasy, fast-acting, penetrative pain relief that works effectively to get down deep to the source of pain. Safe to use daily. No burning, no stinging, never greasy, and always odor-free. Blue Emu. It works fast and you won't stink. Available at retailers nationwide.
Want better gas mileage and a longer-lasting engine? Change your oil every 3 months or 3,000 miles, whichever comes first. You know that sticker on your windshield? Don't look at it now. Wait until the next red light. Okay, check the number on your sticker. Then check your odometer. Is it time? There are 19 Tallahassee area Super Lube locations, which means there's one close to you right now. No appointments, and you're in and out in no time. You can do this today. Super Lube, for better gas mileage and a longer-lasting engine.
How I love to Super Lube my car. Yes, sir.
Tickets are now available for Tallahassee's largest annual business event, the Power Forward Speaker Series, presented by First Commerce Credit Union. This year's speaker is Shark Tank's Mr. Wonderful, Kevin O'Leary. The 6th annual Power Forward Speaker Series will be held Wednesday, February 6th from 3:30 to 5 p.m. at Ruby Diamond Concert Hall on FSU's campus. For tickets, go to tickets.fsu.edu, or for more information, visit firstcommercecu.org/powerforward.
Hi, Chris Kraft for Kraft Nissan, wishing everyone a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Well, this is it, the end of the year, and Nissan has pulled out all the stops with not just huge rebates and 0% on most 2019 models, but the addition of holiday bonus cash now through January 2nd. You've heard me say how aggressively we are discounting the 2019s, but listen to this. Kraft Nissan will sell our 100 remaining 2018s at unheard of below invoice prices. Told my managers to take all reasonable offers and move out all 2018s by the close of business January 2nd. Not only that, but next month your trade will be a year older. So if you've been thinking of trading, your trade will never be worth more than right now, up to $2,000 more. So whether you're bargain hunting for a 2018 or looking for the latest 2019 model, you need to put Kraft Nissan on your holiday shopping list. This is not an end of the month sale. This is the year-end super sale. So hurry to Kraft Nissan, because time is running out on 2018 and savings like these only come along once a year. Happy holidays from our family to yours. Kraft Nissan on Mahan Drive between Academy Sports and Costco.
Are you interested in helping your son or daughter take their athletic performance to the next level? Hi, my name is Louis Dobosensky, personal trainer at Momentum Fitness on Capitol Circle. With over 14 years of experience training athletes at the high school and collegiate levels, including SMU, LSU, and here at Florida State, I can help you do just that. Call Momentum Fitness today at 850-385-9712 to set up your free consultation with me today. Again, that number is 850-385-9712.
This is the Jeff Cameron Show on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
All right, so what do we get? What are the good things about coming back off a break? Even though we did have a show on Monday, none yesterday, it's already Wednesday, and Saturday begins the NFL playoffs. Oh, yes, Indianapolis at Houston. By the way, not a bad game in these playoffs because of how evenly matched teams are. Colts, Texans, 4:35, ESPN, 8 o'clock that night on Fox. Seattle at Dallas. Woo!
Or how about 4 p.m. coverage right here on 97.9 ESPN Radio, fools?
What are we doing here? All right. I like it. The Sagarin ratings that we usually use for other things besides looking at strength of schedule in the NFL actually are something to look at here because there are betting angles for teams that play the stronger schedules during the course of the season.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting, right? If you take the strength of schedule, for example, of Dallas, and you take the strength of schedule for that of, say, Philadelphia, there's two teams that you would favor from a sporting guy or gal standpoint.
Battle-tested?
Battle-tested indeed, yeah. If you're just using those numbers, which are pretty significant in terms of betting trends. Remove the betting for a second. Just talk about the matchup. It would stand to reason if you've been the more tested team over time and you have your health, and that's a big thing to look at, obviously, going into any game, then you're more apt, ATS, to have a good day. Now, those numbers are nominal in the Seattle-Dallas game. It's a 2-point spread. Dallas at home has played the much tougher strength of schedule. Give me the Cowboys. Give the 2.
Already on a Wednesday.
Already,
he says,
Big Daddy's here.
Turning the ATS into an ATM.
And then Philadelphia at Chicago. The Bears were considered to have the worst strength of schedule of the teams in the playoffs by a good margin. I actually like the Bears, though. I think they play really well on defense at home especially. But this is a game that I would look at if we see how healthy Foles is as kind of a toss-up matchup. Fun game.
That's the hardest one to pick, I think, right?
I love that game. I love it. I mean, from a viewer, removing all wagering and all that stuff, just having fun, watching good old-fashioned football. You got a team that won 5 of 6 to get in. They had to go on the road. They beat the Texans. They beat the Rams on the road. Philadelphia is not the team you want to play right now.
If you had the ability to play in a postseason elimination pool, that is to say, it used to be called the dead pool, and you could pick any one of these teams.
Of these 4 that are playing this weekend?
Of these 4 games, 8 teams. Who would you pick?
Okay, so those games for the listeners at the house. Indianapolis at Houston, Seattle at Dallas, Los Angeles, that'd be the Chargers at Baltimore. Great game, man. And Philadelphia at Chicago, another great game. Who would I feel most comfortable taking? Dallas.
Really?
Yeah, I'm going to take Dallas at home against Seattle. I don't like the way Seattle played down the stretch. They played terrible against Arizona, barely won that game. They lost to San Francisco, and they were playing meaningful games. They were fighting to make sure that they got in, and they had positioning and everything else. They were trying. Their starters were on the field. They weren't resting people. This was it. And they lose to San Francisco, and they barely squeak out a last-second field goal against an awful 3-12 Arizona team at the time. I don't like their form, if you will. I love Russell Wilson, and they have the recipe to win, which is to run the football, trust your quarterback not to turn it over on the road. He's got experience. They've got a good team. There's no questioning that. But Dallas's defense is very, very good, and I like them to win a close game.
See, I think Houston is the safest pick, but none of these games are the usual just you can write it off type moments that we usually see wild card weekend. Most wild card weekends you have like a game, and you're like, all right, I like that one. The rest of these are just crap.
No. These
are all compelling. There's a lot of defense being played this weekend. A lot of good defense being played.
Yeah.
Won't be that first game. I think Houston-Indy is at least the leader in the clubhouse, being indoors and between 2 explosive offenses where you think they might light it up. But you could see where Seattle and Dallas devolves into a defensive slugfest, how the Ravens defense performed against the LA Chargers last time they faced off, and the fact that it's in Baltimore, that could be a low-scoring game. And then certainly the Philly and Chicago game.
That's a great game.
That's going to be race to 17.
That has the makings for just a fantastic football game. By the way, just so people know, of course, the Texans hosting Houston hosting Indianapolis December the 9th. Indianapolis goes in there and wins that game. That just happened. So the Texans down the stretch looked like this. And I do look at this. They lost to the Colts 24-21. Great game. Let's hope we get something great like that again.
That'd be great, yeah.
They snuck a win in against the Jets 29-22. They lost to the Eagles 32-30. Great game. They disposed of the sorry sap Jaguars 20-3. And now they're hosting this game. They've been okay, but not great. They barely beat – prior to that, if you want to go back further, 19-17 over Denver, 23-21 over Washington.
Yeah, I think they're a little bit in between, but it's just if you look at what Indianapolis is, they have a Rookie of the Year candidate, a Defensive Player of the Year or Rookie of the Year candidate, and their linebacker. But I think that defense is open for business, and I think Houston's defense with the pass rush and Andrew Luck's propensity to throw to the other team, if you're looking for...
He's got to stop doing that.
Yes, safest percentages, Houston is I think, the pick if you're in an elimination pool.
Colts, looking back, obviously they've been an interesting team, but they disposed of the Titans 33-17. Prior to that, barely beat the Giants 28-27, beat the Cowboys 23-0. And, of course, prior to that Cowboy game, they had just beaten the Texans 24-21. But they have curious results, and we've said this about them too. How do you lose 6-0 to the Jaguars? The hell was that about? That too was in December, so I'm not going to ignore that. That's just a weird 6-0. What are we doing? It's the NFL. That they had played the Jaguars, I think, 2 weeks prior and dropped 29 on them.
Yeah. And it ended up being one of the worst. There's something about going to TIAA field, man, and there's just field goals. That's it. It's always 9-3, I feel like. It's always 9-3, late third quarter.
Well, it's because the Jaguars can't score, and if they do bother to show up on defense, there's the requisite personnel to dominate.
But even before they had a good defense, for some reason, it's like a black hole of offense. You could be a great offense waltz in there, and you're like, if you get 14, you're like, all right, we are scoring today.
Well, now you're going to make me look up the Jaguars. Let's look at what they did this year. Now I'm really kind of curious. Obviously, they weren't good.
Especially in that division, too.
Let's see.
Tennessee Jags is like the 9-3 fest down there.
So the game's in Jacksonville.
Oh boy, he's fact checking.
Well, no, I don't. You may very well be right. In Jacksonville, so their last game in Jacksonville was against Washington, and they lost 16-13.
Okay.
There you go. That's right up your alley.
That's up my alley.
It's right there. Prior to that, they scored 6 points against the Colts at home. Yep.
But they won.
They did 6-0. Then their previous home game to that was against the Steelers. They lost 20-16. Remember, they blew that game.
That's right. That's a high-scoring affair.
Pretty low scoring there. At home, they lost to the Eagles. They gave up 24 points.
Oh, my God.
They gave up 20 to the Texans. Actually, very quietly, and somebody brought this up the other day. They were talking about the year statistics, and there were a lot of surprising numbers that people maybe didn't realize just because they had preconceived notions. One of those was that the last 6 weeks, Jameis was a top 4 QBR and one of the best in the league. Another of that was that the Jaguars actually did play good defense this year. They had a couple of games where they were no-shows that were really prominent.
Yeah, like the Tennessee Thursday night game.
Right,
yeah.
right, where they just didn't bother to show up, and everybody went, what in the world? But that was not indicative of the way they had played earlier in the year and for much of the year. Speaking of which.
So if you score 30 in Jacksonville, you are just, your feet are up in the third quarter. You're like, all right, we are cruising.
That was the other reason that people had this notion that they weren't playing good defense is they had back-to-back games where they had to play the Chiefs and Cowboys on the road, and they gave up 30 to the Chiefs and 40 to the Cowboys. You shouldn't give up 40 points to Dallas. I mean, as much as I'm picking them, you ought not give up 40 points.
Oh, you're picking him because of Dak, because you believe in Dak.
No, I believe
solely because of Dak.
I believe in Zeke, and I believe in Dallas's defense. It's Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Guys, are you tired of being tired? Frustrated because it seems impossible to lose belly fat? If you're looking for a solution, listen to Dave.
Andro 400, I really love it. I've lost 50 pounds. I was a size 38 waist. I've gone down to a 32 waist. My mood has changed. I don't get stressed out. It gave me so much more energy. It feels like I'm 25. I'm so happy. I'm just a completely different man.
Andro 400 Max, an extra strength, all natural testosterone booster. The safe and affordable way to gain energy and lose stubborn belly fat. Satisfaction guaranteed or your money back. Go to andro400.com or call 888-510-9336. That's 888-510-9336.
If you enjoyed Welcome to Rockville over the years, get ready for May 3rd, 4th, and 5th at Metropolitan Park in Jacksonville, Florida. Welcome to Rockville 2019. Tool, Korn, Rob Zombie, Judas Priest, Shinedown, Prodigy, Incubus. Mantra. With Bring Me the Horizon, Papa Roach, Evanescence, Chevelle, The Cult, The Struts. In this moment, 3 days, May 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Go to WelcomeToRockvilleFestival.com for all ticket and lineup info. Tool, Judas Priest, Rob Zombie, Incubus, Korn, Shinedown, and so many more. Florida's #1 rock festival. Welcome to Rockville.
In 1788, Robert Burns wrote a poem to herald the coming of the new year and set the lyrics to an old Scottish tune. The little song became quite popular among the Scots and the British as the words recalled the days gone by, bidding farewell to the old and welcoming the new. Band leader Guy Lombardo is often credited with popularizing the use of the song at New Year's celebrations in America. Through his annual broadcasts on radio and television beginning in 1929, the song became his trademark. This New Year's Eve, millions will gather across the world in celebration, and at the stroke of midnight, join together in singing Auld Lang Syne. Here's wishing you all the best and brightest in the new year from Dr. Eve James at Southern Smiles Family Dentistry in Quincy, 875-3908. Whit & Glass on South Monroe. Call 222-5781. Online at whitandglass.com. And the award-winning Tallahassee Family Magazine, available at local retailers and online at tfmmagazine.com.
Very no heating and air conditioning, keeping you comfortable is what Barry does best.
You can now quickly and easily schedule an appointment, purchase or renew your service agreement, or pay your bill from your mobile device. This winter, take advantage of great rebates and 0% financing for 36 months. Learn more online at baranoac.com. Florida license number CAC 057652.
Very no heating and air conditioning.
Time now for your Tampa Bay Lightning Minute, brought to you by Township of Tallahassee.
As the Tampa Bay Lightning get set for their game Thursday nights against the LA Kings, the team can reflect back on 2018 and be very proud of what they accomplished. In addition to having the best record in the NHL, the Lightning has now gone 14-0-1 on their 15-game point streak and 17-1-1 over their last 19 games. They also finished December with a 13-0-1 record. Nikita Kucherov finished the month of December with 21 assists and 30 points, and John Cooper knows what his team accomplished in December was pretty special.
You know, when you're hot, and it just seemed like everybody was getting hot at the same time. And I think Kucherov had over 30 points in the month, that's remarkable. But he's working at it. It's, you got to take advantage of when times like this happen, and he's definitely doing that. But a lot of guys playing the right way, and fun to watch him play.
With your Lightning Report, I'm Greg Linnelli.
At Township and College Town, for the table, by the people is not just lip service, it's their mantra. Tallahassee's largest beer hall offers drafts served in steins and a unique twist on upscale pub fare. Just walk up and order for the table and grab a seat by the people. Some you may not even know. If you're looking for a more intimate gathering, Township offers The Garden, a unique setting to Tallahassee complete with outdoor fireplace and a retractable awning. Oh, and let's not forget the 32 taps and private bar. Book it for your next party or company event. Township Tallahassee, 619 Woodward Avenue in College Town.
ESPN Radio Sports Center.
I'm Christine Lisi. Right now, as it has been for the last several days, Antonio Brown, the center of attention for the Steelers. Coach Mike Tomlin denied reports that Brown is asked to be traded and that Brown's absence from the team would be handled in-house by the Steelers, adding that a lack of communication was the reason Brown did not play against the Bengals. Tomlin was asked today if the star receiver quit on the Steelers.
You know, you can describe it in whatever ways you want to describe it, but there was a lack of communication there that can lead to thoughts and things of that nature that can go in many directions. The bottom line is that we're playing a significant game, and he didn't do a good enough job of communicating or being available in the hours leading up to that performance.
Giants GM Dave Gettleman declined to commit to quarterback Eli Manning at this point for next year, saying he couldn't answer who the team's starting quarterback will be for 2019. NBA Celtics guard Kyrie Irving with a scratched right eye will not play tonight versus the Timberwolves, 8 Eastern on ESPN TV. That game followed by the Lakers and Thunder at 10:30 Eastern. LA's LeBron James out again with a strained groin.
Right now at Pizza Hut, get 50% off all menu price pizzas when you order online. That's 50% off your favorites like hand-tossed pepperoni, meat lovers, or even original pan supreme. But hurry, this deal ends soon. No one out-pizzas the Hut.
Broadcasting live from the Tallahassee Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat studios in the capital city of Tallahassee. This is the Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Cornerstone Tool and Fastener on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
We're getting any further clarification on Justin Fields? I feel like the longer this goes on, we're more in the running than we would have thought.
Well, if he wants to be enrolled here, he has to do so in the next week or so.
Right.
So I think we'll get an answer at that point. Beyond that, I don't know that there's been a report that somebody's been eliminated or somebody's stock is rising or anything like that.
Come on, buddy. Let's go. We got some games to win around here. You step in and start now. Let's go. What are we doing?
Do you think Georgia made a case to keep him with the way that Fromm played last night?
He was in uniform last night, and I was thinking to myself, if they were going to keep him, if they were going to try to keep him, he could have been out there. Could have used the help early on. I don't know.
Come in to save the day kind of a thing?
Yeah. Then you create a real controversy there. A good kind of controversy, I suppose. I don't know. I would argue that obviously you want to look at, if you're him, a place where they can block. You're going to have to take a leap of faith if you come to Florida State. That's the rude reality of it all, that the case can be made, at least in terms of protection and being able to win immediately for either Ohio State or Oklahoma over Florida State. We know that. But at the same time, if you're loving the hire of Kendall Briles and the offense that you would run, and you liked Willie Taggart when you had a chance to speak with him last year when he tried to make his pitch in the last second to bring you, and allegedly made real strides in that arena, got close to maybe causing him to pause regarding his decision, then maybe you do it, because you know that they can't get any worse on the offensive line, and they are bringing in help. We already know that, like you said, with Dante Lucas, and you're going to see a grad transfer and a JUCO, and you've already seen the one JUCO, so you'll get something. You've got skill position for days. The point is, you got wide receivers, you're fine there. You got a running back couple, you're good there. So really, and McKitty could be elite if he'll catch the damn ball.
Yeah,
you got weapons.
If you can protect at all.
If you can protect it all, you've got weapons. That's the whole thing. You've got weapons. I don't know. I mean, you don't know what's in the heart and minds of a kid, and
Well, the question is, let's say he came here. Everybody thinks that he's a longer-term solution than, say, a Jalen Hurts, but this would be, this upcoming season, his third year removed from high school. So what if he comes in and lights it up? He could just be here for a one-year rental himself. Not that that's a bad thing.
No, I mean, we're kicking
but
ass.
It's just the idea is that, maybe if you could get somebody like a Hurts in here, or Tate before he decided that he was going to stay at Arizona, that, all right, well, there's your short-term, but your long-term is Fields. He comes in and kills it. I mean, I guess he could be gone. Haskins has to be thinking at Ohio State more about going to the next level than he did before, with Justin Herbert not going and staying at Arizona.
Only because of who's not in the draft.
Right.
I don't really view him as an elite NFL prospect. I don't know how many people do.
I thought it was a tale of two halves yesterday. His first half was impressive.
He's terrible in the second half.
He gets through his progressions quite well.
His accuracy was sorely lacking when they needed him to make accurate throws.
Yes.
I mean, missing guys by 15 yards.
He had a bad second half, and that is also fueled with some extra anger. There's some extra anger
for
in there.
the ages.
I sense it.
Well, and I would also note they called plays like idiots in the second half.
Yes, they did.
A bunch of clowns. But yeah, you gotta make a throw every now and then, man.
But people like to think, or the popular thought, I should say, it's probably a better way of putting it, is if Haskins sticks around, then perhaps Ohio State isn't as ideal of a location for Mr. Fields as Florida State
University. Haskins
University.
needs another year, and I mean that seriously. So he needs to come back. And I would say that for the young man's development, I do think he needs another year, and I think it would serve him well to come back. I understand the point you're making is that
it's a good year to leave if you're any kind of quarterback.
Because there's nobody. There's nobody. Yeah, if you need a quarterback currently and you're in the NFL, you're distraught. You're not in love with what's coming out.
But if I'm the Bucs, I'm like, and maybe they're thinking that they want a quarterback. Maybe that's what they were thinking heading into the offseason, is that they would rather have the option, to be able to unload Jameis and go get a quarterback, because they're crazy. The Bucs are nuts.
Yeah, but they've done the opposite of that. They've done the right thing here. They've announced to any coaching candidate that's in the pool of those being interviewed that they're moving forward with Jameis. It's a lock. Jason Light has said as much. There's no... And it's good to see these guys wake up on ESPN. I don't know if they had to go and look at the numbers recently or just watch some of the games in these last few, but almost all of their analysts have now come out when asking the question. You get the question because it's titillating. well, what should the Bucs do with Jameis? And anybody that's watching them play goes, re-sign him. He's like good.
Well, I'll tell you what they did is they watched the Cowboys game because that's what ESPN does. They watch the big games, and they saw that game, and they said, all right, well, not perfect, but pretty good. And then they see the next week without watching the game that he threw for 4 touchdowns against the Falcons. They go, oh, well, I guess he's good. I watched him that one time against the Cowboys.
He's been fun. I mean, look. Okay, anyhow, the point, I'm not going to do this again, but what I'll say is that it was good to see Schefter and others, and beyond the point of having a personal interest or rooting standpoint in it, just in terms of evaluation, objective evaluation, anybody that's available currently would be a huge step down from Jameis Winston. So objectively speaking, whether you're looking at just cold hard numbers or anything else, there's nobody out there on the market right now that you would want over him. If you're talking about potential, he's 24. You're talking about potential and where that's going and what he's done in his first few years in the league, 4 years in the league. Again, you're siding with keeping him so long as you believe he's going to be fine off the field. And I understand if you raise your hand and say, I have questions about that. Okay, that's fine. I don't. You do. I got it. But they're finally coming around to it now when they break down these off seasons for teams. And it means that somebody went, oh, okay, wait a minute. That team's bad, but he's not.
Well, yes, when you look at the defensive numbers over the years, I think that's part of it probably, too, is in Dirk Cutter's career summary, those paragraphs when he gets fired, they see the defensive rankings. They go, oh, my God. And they see the rushing offense inconsistency.
It took so long to decide on Mike Smith. He really cost him his job.
Yes.
It cost him his job.
Because if you get Duffner's results in the first half of the season, we're in the playoff chase to the bitter end. We may be in the playoffs.
Yeah, well, and if you avoid all the injuries you had, I mean, you're just devastating not to have Quan.
But even
devastating to go through stretches where you're missing key components on defense.
But think about it. Without Quan, Duffner gets the productivity down to where, opposing offenses are scoring in the mid-20s, which was all we needed for the first 2 months of the season.
Oh, sure. Yeah. No, the offensive numbers are through the roof. Too many turnovers in the first half of the season. The combination of Jameis and Fitz was a turnover machine. But they both lit it up in yardage and touchdowns. And then, obviously, Winston got control of his turnovers in the second half of the season and became a different player. Most of the turnovers that happened really in the remaining games for Winston, let's say the last 5, were either Hail Marys at the end of a game that was lost. He got crushed in that game against Dallas. It leads to a touchdown. Anybody would have fumbled that ball. I mean, it's blind side.
Yeah.
He gets hammered.
Eyes are down the field. He's doing the right thing.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong there. That wasn't a lack of
that guy's also swooping from left tackle, and Donovan Smith clearly doesn't want to play in the NFL anymore.
We could use help. But that's a play where you get blown up, and there's nothing you can do about that. And then you have the interception against the Falcons hits Evans right in the chest. I mean, catch the damn ball.
That's all-time single-season leading receiver Mike Evans, sir.
Listen, I love Mike Evans, but I'd like him to not drop balls at him in the chest that lead to interceptions. And it was funny because Florida State fans can absolutely relate to this, and if you're a Buccaneer, you know what I'm talking about. When things are going bad, when you're a bad team that can't – when your margin for error is really, really small, whatever can go wrong will, man. The ball gets tipped, it is going to get picked. It is going to get picked. Always. A guy drops a ball, it is going to get picked. That's just the way it's going to work.
Well, and I think also if you look down the stretch, it would be easy to say, well, Jameis cut down the turnovers, so the defense gave up fewer points. But the pass rush did not come to life until Duffner took over. I mean, JPP was getting his here and there, but that front four, once they were empowered, it changed. Their mentality was a lot tougher down the stretch with Duffner. And even with a guy like Glenn at linebacker instead of Quan Alexander, you saw a more attacking mentality. They were bringing pressures. They knew we're terrible in the back end, so you know what? Let's shorten the amount of time the quarterback has to pick us apart by bringing pressure. We're going to get burnt on it once in a while, but we're going to go down with a fight. So I think there were measurable differences more than just the fact that we didn't turn the ball over as to why the Bucs didn't give up as many points down the stretch. It was just far too little, far too late.
I don't want to retread, by the way. Don't want to retread. Let's move on.
You want Brian Kelly?
No.
That's the hot rumor this morning.
No, don't want Brian Kelly. Who's not a retread, but I don't want Brian Kelly.
Bruce Arians? No.
Nope. No. I'm first of all, I guess I shouldn't say I don't want to retread because I would entertain Gase. I don't mind Gase.
Yep, that guy's.
I think he can coach.
Mm-hmm.
But I would also say that I got no problem with Bieniemy or anything like that. I'm okay. Let's take a chance on somebody young. Somebody that, listen, nobody knew who the hell McVay was. Nobody knew who Nagy was.
Let's see how tied to North Carolina Mac Brown is.
All right, so the New Year's has come and gone, and it means that, you're going to do some things to improve yourself, right? It starts with a good night's rest. I've talked about the tossing and turning I was doing, but doing less of. Now that I have a MyPillow, I do wake up feeling better, I can tell you that. It's an amazing difference, frankly, in terms of pillows. It is just a pillow, but it's a comfortable pillow. And right now they're extending that 4-pack offer. The good news is it's extended for their best offer ever. So you get the 60-day money-back guarantee going through March now. You also get the 4-pack special that I talk about on the regular. Go to MyPillow.com. Click on the end-of-the-year special, if you will. Use the promo code 979ESPN. And that's promo code 979ESPN to get 2 premium MyPillows, 2 Go Anywhere pillows. It is their best offer to date. A 4-pack, free shipping, extended money-back guarantee through March. MyPillow.com. End-of-the-year special. It's really the start of the year special now, if you will. It's the start of the year special.
That's a new time.
My promo code 979ESPN.
The promo code should be a new dawn for a new age.
Of good sleeping. MyPillow.com.
Saturday, it's the wild card round of the NFL playoffs as we bring you a special doubleheader. Hi, this is Scott Graham. Join me and the rest of our Westwood One crew for all the action. First, it's an AFC South matchup as the Colts and Texans meet in Houston. Then, Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys host Russell Wilson and the Seattle Seahawks. The NFL playoffs are right here.
On 97.9 ESPN Radio, Tallahassee's sports monster. Front Row Knowles, featuring Tom Block and Keith Jones, is brought to you by Hobson Chevrolet in Cairo, Georgia. Get your best deal the Hobson way. Catch Front Row Knowles every Wednesday night at 6, right here on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Tallahassee loves the corner pocket as much as a crystal ball winning catch.
He's looking, he lost it to the end zone. It's Benjamin! Touchdown! With 13 seconds left!
The 97.9 ESPN radio special is a must-have every Monday and Wednesday at the corner pocket. 10 mouth-watering wings, a fresh side of fries, and a chilled domestic pint of beer are just $9.79 all day long. Be sure and try the fish blend of sauces, a true wing eater's favorite. The Corner Pocket Bar and Grill.
He's gone!
Home of Trivia Tuesday, Beer Bingo Thursday, and the daily $7.99 lunch special.
Have you ever noticed when you report an accident or a claim to an insurance company, they are very eager to get you to one of their approved body shops. They say that they guarantee the shops work, but what they're really saying is the shop works for them, not the customer. So choose a shop that is working for and looking out for you, someone you trust. It's your choice. Lisa's Paint and Body.
License number MP46050.
Everybody knows that the holiday season is also known as engagement season. Now that the season's over, it's time for some planning. Social Catering has several options for your wedding event and catering needs. They're Tallahassee's largest catering company, and they manage event spaces at venues like Madison Social, Township, and The Gathering. They can plan all of your wedding events, engagement parties, bridal brunches, rehearsals, even wedding receptions. No new rock on the finger? Hey, doesn't matter. Whatever the event, they've got you covered. For more details, email matt@madisonsocial.com. Again, that's matt@madisonsocial.com.
Hi, Chris Kraft for the all-new Kraft Infinity, wishing everyone a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Kraft Infinity purchased all inventory at a discounted price. We want to pass those savings on to you. Kraft Infinity has 85 new vehicles in stock, both 2018s and 2019s, and all will be sold at invoice pricing, plus up to $3,000 winter bonus cash on most models. So come look at Kraft Infinity before you buy, and dare to compare us to Mercedes, BMW, Acura, Cadillac, and Lexus. this. You will not buy or lease a luxury vehicle for less. And Infinity's quality and value is second to none. Drive a 2018 QX80 for $695 a month or a 2019 QX60 for $395 a month with only $2,500 in cash or trade equity due at delivery. Plus, all trade-ins are $1,000 over Kelley Blue Book. Craft Infinity, beyond your expectations, and brought to you by the Craft Brothers, 3355 Capitol Circle Northeast, next to Ted's Montana Grill. Lease payments are plus tax for 39 months with 10,000 miles per year through Infinity Financial Service with approved credit.
Driving every day from the Tallahassee Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat Studios. This is 97.9 ESPN Radio, WTSM, Woodville, Thomasville, Tallahassee.
ESPN Radio Sports Center.
I'm Christine Lisi. At this hour, a lack of communication was the reason star receiver Antonio Brown did not play in the Steelers' must-win against the Bengals on Sunday. This according to Coach Mike Tomlin. Tomlin, at his end-of-season news conference today, explained that after Friday, it became increasingly difficult to communicate with Brown, who didn't show up on Saturday. And despite a call Sunday from his agent that he was ready to play, Tomlin said that was not on the menu for Brown. When asked if he thought Brown quit on the Steelers, Tomlin responded, quote, "You can call it what you want," end quote. Pittsburgh defensive end Cam Hayward.
We all want AB here. But to be a part of this team, you can't do that. You don't let your brothers down. And it hurt more knowing that there are multiple guys in that locker room giving everything they got. And I'll never question what AB does on that field. But not going full strength and still not doing it, that's what hurt more.
Cam Hayward on the DVE Morning Show. The future of Giants quarterback Eli Manning in New York remains uncertain. GM Dave Gettleman declined to commit to the soon-to-be 38-year-old Manning for next season at this point, and would not say who the Giants' starting QB will be for 2019. Oklahoma receiver Marquise Brown, a cousin of Antonio Brown, announced he's entering the upcoming NFL draft. ESPN's Mel Kiper Jr. ranks Brown as the top prospect at wide receiver and has him at number 18 on his big board for the draft. NBA, no Kyrie Irving for the Celtics tonight. The guard is out against the Timberwolves with a scratched right eye. That's the first game of the Wednesday doubleheader, 8 Eastern on ESPN TV and the ESPN app, followed by the Lakers and Thunder, 10:30 Eastern. LA's LeBron James remains sidelined by a strained groin. Capitals captain Alex Ovechkin skipping NHL All-Star Weekend to rest for the second half of the season. He'll have to miss one regular season game before or after the break per league rules.
Broadcasting live from the Tallahassee Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat Studios in the capital city of Tallahassee. This is the Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Cornerstone Tool and Fastener on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Final hour of the Jeff Cameron Show, at least for today. Appreciate you tuning to it. Hope you are well. Hope New Year's went well for you. Time off has afforded you opportunity to refresh, recharge the batteries, if you will. We're online, ESPNTallahassee.com. That's where you go to listen live via the streaming free, always. Missed anything, we'll post all 3 hours to both iTunes and our own audio vault, as well as the WTSM app. That's free. Use that app. Goes on any one of your mobile devices. Good to go. You can email us if you like, jcs at 979espnradio.com, and you can find me on Twitter at JCameron Show. You can also watch us on YouTube. Hello, YouTubers. ESPN Tallahassee or Jeff Cameron Show. Type it in. You'll find it. You can also Periscope the program if you're on Twitter. Just follow 979 ESPN Radio.
Did you guys stay up all the way to midnight?
Clark made it and fell asleep at 12:06. He was just done.
But he made it.
He did make it. We had to play a lot of Uno. There was a lot of Uno going on at my house. And Daddy would sneak into the kitchen for some spirits and then come out and whoop ass in some Uno.
Daddy's got a double for Uno. A Dublo.
So we had a good time. Listening to a lot of music and just hanging out as a family. It was perfect. I rather enjoy these kinds of New Year's. No driving around, no doing nothing. I get home, it's like 6:30 and shut it down. And we had some mimosas and some champagne and had some good Scotch, Tom. And then I watched, I had what did I have on the background? No, I don't think I even had the TV on.
Did you have any of the programming or no?
No. Just pretty much all I did was listening to music. We just different albums and, board games and Uno.
We had dinner, but it was around 6, so we were home by 7:30.
You're done, yeah.
Yeah.
You got to get out. Got to get out from under it because it's just amateur hour, as they say, and it's time to ride. I'm looking at that story that we just heard there in Pittsburgh. Why in the world, they may want to think about firing him. Why do you have a locker room in such strife year in and year out?
If you think that he can be a leader of young men, a younger team without the egos and the contracts, then you might want to stick with him because the time is just about up for these guys anyway.
Yeah, I guess. It's just strange. And, I see this a lot, and I never had to weigh the financial options that you talk about with the college kids. So I completely get it that if you're, you grow up impoverished, you've had nothing your whole life, and you've got transformational sums of money coming your way waiting if you just don't play. You've played, you've got it to that point, you're going to get drafted in the top 15, you're going to make millions of dollars, change your family's life forevermore. Man, who can really fault a kid in that situation? You don't have to like it. It's not desirable. It's not something that you want to see happen, to have the best players not playing games. But I before all these guys, before this playoff started, I used to talk about how, man, we put a lot of value on exhibition games now, don't we? That every bowl that wasn't the one for the national title was nothing more than an exhibition game. People used to get so mad. I mean, literally, I used to say that like 15, 16 years ago. It's, come on. It's the Sugar Bowl, sure, but if the championship's not being played there, it's just a game that means nothing. And we used to get into this debate, right? I used to talk about how it doesn't really, I know that people still like to talk about this, doesn't really have an impact on the next year. People say, oh, yeah, no, you're setting yourself up for next year. You get a big win. You're still climbing. You get a win like that. Listen, there are games in which the motivation is different. And if you're a really young team with everybody returning and you haven't accomplished anything yet, and it's a chance to cap off a huge step forward, yeah, you want to keep that momentum. I don't know that it necessarily, other than the added practices, because that's a big deal, I don't know that it necessarily portends of any more success the following year or lack thereof if you lose it.
I think if you're on the way up like we were in the Peach Bowl in 2010.
No, it's a nice way to conclude, but I don't think it changes what's going to happen.
I think it improves morale, though, around the building. Like, if you finish the job and you get it done there. I mean, think about it. If we had lost to South Carolina, we got blown out like 41-20 or something like that. I don't know that the workouts in the offseason go as well as they do. I mean, it works when you're on the rise. If you've been there and you've done that. For Georgia, it means nothing.
Well, that's true of a lot of teams. If you're a senior-laden team whose your thought is that you're going to win a championship, and then you're not even playing for a championship.
Penn State, Kentucky. What does that mean to Penn State? But what does it mean to Kentucky?
It ought to mean something to Penn State.
Things.
They haven't done a damn thing in forever. They ought to want to win that game.
Well, it's the same. Well, they're in the same position that Wisconsin was and a couple other schools.
Yeah, you win a Rose Bowl or something, but you haven't played in a playoff. You haven't. I mean, come on, let's keep building.
But they're not in the playoff. I guess that's my point. Is they're purging a roster that had full expectations of getting it done and being the class and the group that did it. But now, I'm playing Kentucky. What in the hell has happened to me? I don't care, man. Let's get on to the next level. But Kentucky on the other sideline saying, all right, this is a year to remember, and let's cap it off with a big-time win over a preseason favorite.
Yes, I said there is a difference in motivation, but I don't think it changes what happens the following year. That's all my point is. I don't think if Kentucky had lost to Penn State, do they have a worse year next year because of that loss to Penn State? Do they not continue to climb and grow in the way that they have under Stoops now? No, I don't think it had any difference. I think they feel better because they won the game. I'm sure Iowa feels great about winning the freaking Outback Bowl. Iowa's in the Outback Bowl every year. I don't know that it does anything. I mean, I'm happy for them. That's good. I mean, I just think if you compete, you want to win. But I don't think it necessarily impacts your first game next year, your seventh game next year, or the way or if you take pride in the way that you compete. It's not going to impact. Listen, you can make a case that when you suffer a loss or a setback, that you're going to train even harder having lost that game. That you know there's still more work to be done. You thought you were at this place and you lost a sorry-ass, name your team, whatever it was. I mean, if you're Michigan State, you scored 6 points and lost to Oregon. I don't know that that's going to make any difference next year or not. I just know that if you had won the game 7-6 or lost the game 7-6, you got a lot of work to do on offense, period. It doesn't.
No, that's true. I think it's with the coach with the new car smell. I think it's important to fortify the belief, especially when you go cross-conference and you have a chance to make a statement or play with some big boys, because you can believe at that point. I do think there was validity to Jimbo's argument about the Northern Illinois game. Even though it was Northern Illinois, there's a validity to what you've done.
Winning the conference championship was that validity. I don't know that.
Well, it wasn't the same thing at that point. There was a BCS game. It wasn't New Year's Six. It was the Orange Bowl. Like, it stood on its own.
I'd like to believe that winning the Orange Bowl, even in a non-playoff year, or even if you weren't part of that BCS factor, would mean so. I just think less and less that's true. I don't think any of these other games now, they've all been lessened. They're just glorified. Even the Rose Bowl. Historically speaking, the Rose Bowl is more important than the Gator Bowl. I got you. But in truth, they're both now just exhibition games unless they're part of the playoffs.
Largely, I think you're correct, but I also think times are changing too, because kids are going to sit out, and you have the redshirt rule the way they have the redshirt rule.
The scary part is when are kids going to start sitting out regular season games because it didn't go the way that they thought it was going to go? So all of a sudden, the Ed Olivers of the world or anybody else, so you're 4-4, you thought you were going to play for a championship.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not playing the last 4 games. My draft stock's not going to change at all. I'm the number 1 rated defensive tackle in the country. We're going nowhere. We're 4-4. I'm going to call it a day.
I would encourage the kid to do that in that situation.
But it makes a mockery, and yes,
it is a mockery.
Yeah, it is. But what I'm saying to you is, if you're that kid, if you're a competitor, if you're somebody, I'm not saying that they don't have the right to do that. I'm not saying that in certain circumstances I wouldn't tell them to do it. What I am saying is, you've competed. You don't have to have competed at Florida State. You've competed. You've been part of teams. It is rare to find the guy that tells the cat next to him, "Yeah, man, I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna take it on down to the road."
Well, what am I here? What am I here to do? Am I here to win national championships, or am I here at this institution in order to get paid down the line? It's a stepping stone. People don't want to hear that, but for top flight athletes, for the top flight, yes, they may care about the university they go to, give money back to it, and proudly wear the colors.
Yeah, I don't need them to care about the university the same way other non-athletes care about having a degree from a university. I don't need them to. I don't need them to have the same sort of sense of spirit.
Or as a walk-on would, or as a 3-star, or whatever.
I don't care about any of that. I care about the blood, sweat, and tears, and sacrifice and commitment to your teammate.
But we're talking about a very specific group within the group of upper echelon athletes that are going to be a top. I mean, Bosa did it this year. Bosa did. He could have come back and played in the bowl game. He would have played in the playoff. I'll bet you he would have.
Yeah, there would have been something on the line there.
But they didn't play in the play. So
when you miss a lot of time due to injury, though, I'm going to understand that. I'm not talking about anybody that's missed time due to injury. If you've missed significant time due to injury, what are we doing here?
You're a ticking time bomb, first of all. And secondly, even if you get insurance against it, the policy is pennies on the dollar that you would be receiving. And we're talking about first-round or top 50 players.
Yeah.
And that's a very select group.
Well, we're having a different conversation. I'm not saying they can't do it or shouldn't do it. I'm saying it's rare to find the guy that wants to do it who isn't a top 15 pick or top 20 pick, just because you grow so tight. You become you love to compete. You love playing in those games. Those guys who played last night in that Sugar Bowl will remember it the rest of their lives. Didn't mean anything, but it did to them. It did, they'll remember that. But I'm also talking about just whether the optics of it. It's not bad per se that they do it. It's just not as enjoyable for us, the fan, to watch it. It hurts the game. They're not responsible for upholding the game. I'm not saying that.
They're not responsible for my happiness.
No.
Because
so listen, this is just an objectively true thing is what I'm saying. I'm just saying it hurts college football if a slew of top-tier players recognize the exhibition that are these bowl games outside of the playoff as just that.
I hope they do, because then change will happen quicker in terms of lining the pocketbooks in the correct places.
You think if they were paid even a decent stipend, that they would choose to play?
Well, it has to be significant. It's not.
I mean, I don't know,
It's not
man.
$10,000, dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, even if it's 6 figures.
Well, I don't want to get into the radical proposition I would have about they don't have to go to school at all and they can collect a much bigger check instead.
No. That's a fun conversation, but it's a different show.
But then I can cut you the moment that you suck.
Yeah. I like the big. Yeah, no. I'm all about the cutting. I'll cut a bitch now. All right, so we got two things to do here.
Yeah.
First of all,
Good
Big Daddy.
segue opportunity. Were you watching the Chappelle show?
No.
Oh, okay.
No,
They had a marathon yesterday. That's what that sounded like.
No. By the way, Big Daddy J wants to give you a wager. Edmonton on the money line. Arizona has the worst home record in the league, 7-12. The Oilers have won 6 of the last 7. Take Edmonton over Arizona. And then I wanted to tell you, and I squeezed that in there so that it would be a little bit better way for me to say, get you a MyPillow. I couldn't do it on the heels of my previous comment.
Hope you took the under New Year's Eve for the Lightning. That was a recommendation on this side of the glass.
It was a great recommendation. I don't know if MyPillow wants to be associated with that, but you're right.
But you could have rest easy that night.
Oh, you were resting a lot easier.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Go to MyPillow.com, click on the end of year special, use the promo code 979ESPN. 2 premium MyPillows, 2 Go Anywhere pillows also. And you get a great night's sleep. Plus, they did the right thing. They extended the 60-day money-back guarantee, which now goes through March the 1st. So that's a good thing. Go to MyPillow.com. Again, get the 2 MyPillows along with 2 Go Anywhere pillows. Best price for that 4-pack that they've ever offered. Promo code 979ESPN. Use that promo code. It's my promo code. Go on there and say, I want to use Jeff's promo code. 979ESPN. It's a great promo code. It's the best promo code. Get you that pillow. All right, there you go. Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio. Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio. 1 and 4 teams that finish outside the top 4 in their bowl games. If you finish 5th, you're not inspired. They all lose. And they usually lose badly. Going back, I think it was Alabama got blown out the one time.
Yeah, that was, the playoff one.
Was that Oklahoma or was that Utah?
It was Oklahoma in 2013 when we won the 2013 title. So I don't know if that game was played on either side of New Year's Eve, but I do remember that, yeah.
Yeah. And then obviously Georgia, and then there was I saw the stat. It's 1 and 4. If you finish, basically if you're disappointed, is the way that works. Well, but I also don't scramble to do what everybody does, which is to say that this is somehow unless it's the Pac-12, and the Pac-12 just gonna have to win some games at some point. Went 0 for last year, better this year, but I think they're 7 and 15. But then not only that, it's like 3 and 19 ATS. I mean, they just.
Yeah, I think they were right on the broadcast, though, to say by the second quarter, Georgia was engaged, but it took them until the second quarter to truly be engaged. Texas jumped all over them in the beginning, and they were sleepwalking, were the Bulldogs. And it makes sense, though, because Texas is climbing. It matters so much more to them to get to the 10th win.
Every year it makes sense. And the thing is, I don't do the thing where I'm not going to credit Texas and then make an excuse for the team that was favored to win, and they're disappointed they lacked motivation. I mean, You can have it both ways. I cracked up. There was a tweet from a UCF guy who was like, well, we just didn't make the playoffs, weren't motivated to play LSU. That's funny. That's a good tweet. That's well done. Because you can do that with anybody you want. You could just apply, well, they weren't motivated. And then you immediately remove all credit from the team that beat you. That's what you're doing. And then when it works in your favor, you're like, oh, well, they clearly wanted to be there. We just outplayed them, better football team, just a better team. Well, I think that it comes and goes. Sometimes it's a little bit easier than others to tell who was motivated, who wasn't. I would also note that a lot of these teams across the board, SEC, you name it, doesn't matter. There are a lot of teams that had 6 and 7 people just not playing.
Yeah, like LSU yesterday.
Had 7 starters out.
Oh, and they left, what did they leave, like 20, 24 points on the board?
Well, the yardage total tells you the story of that game. It's like 550 to 250.
But I mean,
you should have won that game by 40.
You're talking about a pick six that rivals Greg Reed's little lasso play over in Provo, BYU game. They didn't challenge. This is shades of the Virginia Tech game with us. They didn't challenge the fact that the quarterback was over the plane on the first drive. And then you have a fumbled snap and you have a false start and a 4th and 1 where they were going to go for it. I mean, they left a ton of points out there and put 7 on the board because the officials forgot what pass interference was on one play.
One thing that stood out, and I do want the ACC, and I'm always going back to this, but it was abundantly clear in games that were officiated by non-ACC crews. Only the ACC is hypersensitive to pass interference. Fade routes in every other bowl game that's contested by a DB who's had an offensive player put his hands on him was allowed for. It was understood that if the taller receiver is going on a fade route and he extends his arms to touch your arm, not pull it down, but just kind of get a feel for you, where your body is, and you're in phase, as a DB, they allowed for players to put their hands back on that receiver. Once the ball arrived, both had to let go and make a play, but prior to that, the jostling, and listen, we were a bad football team this year, so believe me, it's not going to make that big of a difference. But we saw Samuels in particular get screwed repeatedly in that Miami game and others.
The NC State game.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell that was.
You got to let guys play football now. And it seems to me that is the area that was the most abundantly clear, the differences between ACC officials and every other crew. They would allow for a receiver and a DB to jostle a little bit. As long as it wasn't over the top, as long as it wasn't egregious, as long as you weren't pinning arms, they were going to let it go. And because that's football. It's football. You got to let it play. The ACC, man, don't you dare touch a receiver.
No, and, the worst example of it was the Miami game. You have a toss pass, and it's a terrible throw.
Yeah.
And so the receiver's got to come back 10 yards. And it's like, really? So you're going to reward.
That was the one the Miami fan next to me turned and said, that's garbage. We didn't deserve that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, you got to – the ACC is very sensitive. Really more than anything else that stands out to me about officiating. Because I'm looking at that. I'm not year to year applying to exhibition games a referendum on entire conferences. Now, if you over the course of 5 years don't win anything, like the Pac-12 never wins anything, At some point, we just got to accept you don't have any good teams. I mean, USC has been down, so you can say that about that conference. Look, Washington, at some point, you got to win a game against a good team.
Yeah.
Every time they play another Power 5 team, we don't see it, right, from them.
Yeah, I agree with you. I wouldn't make sweeping generalizations, but I'd look at something, for example, like the way Texas played Georgia last night defensively, and they were able to stop the run. I'd say, ooh, that projects nicely moving forward.
Oh, no.
Is that they are capable. Well, playing defense in the Big 12 is a
big
unique
deal.
thing.
Yeah.
And if you have a quarterback who can run your system, who's healthy enough. Now, the problem with that kid is he's going to take such a beating that I don't know that he'll be available in November. No, seriously. I mean, the way he likes to run, that's hard to project. Like, Tebow was one of a kind because
255 pounds.
He was durable.
Yeah.
That kid, I mean, he's 6'3", 230, but still, it's not the same
And
thing.
they couldn't stop comparing him to Tebow.
I don't know what
Good
McDonough's
God
problem
almighty,
is.
McDonough, what is your deal? Do you want to marry Tim Tebow? I mean, clearly he's in love.
Race Danielson to the altar.
My God, they're both just unbuckling. I mean, the mere thought of it. What are you doing, man? You're a grown-up. It's been years since Tebow played football. What are we doing?
Well, clearly what happened is he asked the coach, and the coach said, he reminds me of Tebow, and then he just went, oh.
Lots of things remind me of Tebow. Come on, man.
Tom Brenneman would be in that race, too.
Yeah, if we still heard him ever. Does he ever do games?
He does NFL. He doesn't do
I was going to say it. Yeah, because that was an embarrassment.
How in the world? He
Yeah.
says that once every broadcast. He gets mad about something.
Well, and he wanted everybody's daughter to marry him. That was the big, not him, but Tebow.
Yes. Tom Brenneman was on a mission to get his daughter or somebody married to Tim Tebow, the way that Brent Musburger was on a mission to the Alabama fan, the girlfriend.
Yeah, the one.
Well, how about if you're the quarterback at Alabama?
Should note, bravo to Kirk Herbstreit, who played the role of Brent Musburger during the comeback for Washington against Ohio State, because he normally doesn't do it, and he did it, and it was very specific to the number. When Washington scores and goes for 2 and it's intercepted, and the kid for Ohio State is trying to return it 109 yards, when he gets tackled, you hear Herbstreit chuckle, and he goes, "Woo, there might have been some interested parties in that return." And me being one of them, cracked up laughing, because you go from, this is really going to happen, this is what you're going to do, okay, and then that ball is caught, intercepted, you're like, whatever, he's in the back, he's going to take it, he's not going to take a knee. Well, he just, go, run, you son of a, you're realizing, like, it could happen, and you're going to get bailed out. That was funny. Herbstreit did it. Twice. He made some people interested in that return, and then he took a second, he goes, that really changes the complexion of this game with the number.
Well, he had just put some chapstick on along with Fowler after the Urban Meyer talk. They finally regained their composure a little bit.
You know, I think it's really weird, and I'm really surprised at how quickly it happened, I suppose, that they were willing to just pretend as if this was a send-off in all of its glorious fashion for Urban Meyer, as opposed to just keeping it in proper context. I mean, enough of them, including Kirk Herbstreit, during the actual scandal, were critical of the way that Urban Meyer handled that. They outwardly ripped him more than once, and I was just kind of surprised that, the reference to Zach Smith's legal issues and his own lies, as he was caught in, were referred to as that stuff in the summertime. Come on, man. Come on, man.
Oh, the cold open was mishandling some situations is also what Chris Fowler used, quote unquote, as they glossed over it and they put the graphic up between the two of them of how great a coach this guy is and the offense and how it's loaded.
Here's the thing you can do, and people have to get better at this, and I don't know if it's just the polarization that social media brings, and I don't know what it is, but competing thoughts can be true, and you can have realities that differ from one another. You can say that Urban Meyer is without question one of the greatest college football coaches to ever live. That is true. If we're looking at win percentage, we're looking at championships, success on the field, year in and year out, consistency. You can go to Bowling Green, to Utah, to Florida, to Ohio State. You can go everywhere he's been. He's been uber successful. It's also possible that he won while ignoring abhorrent behavior.
Yeah.
and possibly won at such a high rate because not only was he a great coach, but that he chose to ignore when really good players did terrible things. Like, this is true. It's obviously true. It's okay to say that there were lies, that there were cover-ups, that there were controversies that saddled Urban Meyer throughout his career, no matter where he was. They accompanied lots of winning. They're both true. You don't have to make it all of one or the other. Like, you wouldn't have wanted that intro, if we were looking for perspective, to solely be about the problems that Urban Meyer had this offseason.
Right, but I would. The problem is it starts with, this has been a painful year. I go, oh, okay, painful year for Urban Meyer, dealing with a brain cyst. Oh,
yeah,
okay, so we're going to go to that. And a 3-game suspension that he served for mishandling some situations in the summer.
Right.
Really?
Well, ESPN has always had a
see.
love affair for Urban Meyer, and you've noted it more than anybody. I mean, that they fall over backwards because they want to hire him.
Down to Tom Rinaldi. They could have put Maria Taylor there, but down to putting Tom Rinaldi standing next to Urban Meyer for the pre-kickoff interview, and Tom is yucking it up with him.
But didn't you think, and I find this fascinating, isn't that revelatory in a way? Because Rinaldi did ask tough questions of Urban Meyer in that interview.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, lots of them.
According to the report, right. Rinaldi, yes.
He did that very well, though. That was professional. He was calm. He looked at the report, quoted it to him, all of that. But clearly there were arrangements made at some point.
No, that tells me that was scripted to hell, is what that was.
That's what it told me, too, when
that
I saw
Rinaldi
them
is fake, yes.
Or that Urban Meyer agreed that he needed to take a tongue lashing, if you will, in the court of public opinion, and he wanted to handpick who would do it.
But that tells me that Rinaldi's fake.
But that question's a real question. I mean, the question was the right question
sure.
several times over.
Yeah, but I mean, he is emoting in that moment.
Oh, okay.
And then on the sidelines yesterday, he's smiling with him and laughing about his final game and the message he sent and what does this mean for you, your leg, all that stuff.
Well, I believe Rinaldi, generally speaking, and we've seen this time and again, wants to get along to a degree that's probably crosses the line between reporter and subject of interview or question. I think he wants to do that with everybody. We saw him at the NFL draft party for Jameis Winston, and his whole network were reviled by Jameis Winston, and he couldn't wait to hug him and hand him a personal note telling him best of luck.
Well, when did he hand him the personal note?
Well, it was off of camera because you're not going to hand a note on camera.
Yes, but when? In front of everybody who was standing there.
Grandstands.
He could, I mean, he was in the
grandstands.
house before he runs out freaking out that the generator blew.
Which we got to
Yes.
I'll still never forget how great that was.
I mean,
he had to break character. He had to break character.
And how many moments do you have with Jameis to hand him a damn envelope?
Oh,
you know?
Now we're getting into another level of conversation. Is Rinaldi about Rinaldi? Is he about wanting to grandstand and be seen
fake,
as? Yeah, I mean it's like what's his name? Forget fake too. Saddened me. Sal Pal.
Oh yeah.
It broke my heart. I'm like, that guy.
They're not Tim Kirkchin, man.
No.
Tim's the
real deal. Tim is the real deal. Jeff Cameron Show 97.9 ESPN Radio.
God's own dying son.
Wrapping it up, Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio. A lot of people took the day off today, Tom. I was driving about town before coming in here, and it was packed. I was like, people are taking more days off?
I did notice that the roads were a little light, yeah.
Wow. Goodness gracious. All right. Well, that said, it was good to be back at work today. It'll be good to usher in the football this weekend, but it's sad to say goodbye to Gene Okerlund, who I mentioned in the first hour. Mean Gene, as we all thought of him, those of us who grew up as wrestling fans. So a little rest in peace tribute here, quick. Some stylings from our friend Gene Okerlund.
Mean! Woo! My God! Gene!
Expect the same thing is going to happen in this fourth-quarter match.
Let me tell you something, Gene Oken. You out here talking about a clique. The only clique you need to know about is the Harlem Heat and Sister Sherry. See, because what you dealing with here is the brotherhood. It's nonstop from this point on in WCW. We take what we want, and after we take Lex Luger and the Giant, we want the gold sucker. Hulk Hogan, we coming for you.
I should point out for the record, Stevie Ray, look at this. Take a look. We're talking about the rack, the torture rack of Lex Luger, and what about the choke slam of the Giant? These are the things you're going to have to deal with tonight.
Would you like a donut?
A donut?
A donut. This is what happens. This is how you maintain championship balance. Have a donut. Have a donut.
No.
Donnie, please. I got donuts all over the place.
I see that.
I happen to like donuts.
What did you just do?
I kissed my bicep.
What did you do? You didn't just kiss your...
Oh, yes, I certainly did.
Got the powdered sugar all over me. What are you laughing about?
Excuse me. What in the world are you thinking?
Mean Gene, the first thing you need to do is to tell these people to shut up if you want to hear what I got to say.
I have been with you for so many years. For you to join up with the likes of these two men absolutely makes me sick to my stomach.
Gene Okerlund, Mean Gene, who came to the WWF at the time, right in my wheelhouse, Tom, 1984. I was 13 years old and really getting into wrestling, and Mean Gene was, a staple, right? He was every weekend. He was when it was on USA Network, back in the day, you'd get Tuesday Night Titans and then Friday Night Lights, and later on Saturday Night's Main Event and all those shows. I mean, Gene was always there, was always part of that, was always just kind of comic relief, but also a consummate professional.
Yep. He was the WWF's and WCW's consummate professional.
Yeah, he was. And, he was great.
If you have Harlem Heat, right, doing an interview, and they drop an N-bomb, and you, without blinking, pivot to the next question for Stevie Ray because Booker T has lost his damn mind, that is consummate professional.
Well, and he transitioned over to the WCW later on, and you got to see him interviewing, all the best.
Well, that was the Hogan heel turn interview at the end.
Yeah, Sting and Diamond Dallas Page and all those guys.
They were getting covered in beer and trash. That was legit. The people were pissed. I mean, there is beer flying into the screen multiple times when that heel turn happened.
When I was really getting into it, and like Hillbilly Jim and Piper would insult Hillbilly Jim and all the people who liked him. And Piper had a way of really reaching into the chests of people who were fanatical about whatever it was they were supporting. And that included America or anything else. Then Okerlund would always have to represent the people. And it would make me laugh because Piper would try not to laugh. And all the guys that were the heels were trying not to laugh because they could see Okerlund doing a good job of the outward manifestation of those feelings pouring in from the fans. Well, Rowdy Piper, he would do that.
Now, hang on a minute. I'm not going to let you talk about America like that.
Right. It would be perfect, and it would make me crack up. Even at a young age, I got it and would just start cracking up. I'd be like, look, he's doing it perfect. He's just playing that role to a T. 76, I thought he was older than that. I thought, for as long as, you figure I was watching him, he was a grown, bald man when I was 13. I'm 47 now.
He was old in those days.
He was old in those days, but he was only 76 when he passed, when it was announced today that he passed. So anyhow, I don't know. I think he's as well respected, judging from the outpouring of affection from wrestlers across the world that he was well thought of behind the scenes,
Yeah,
too.
given in that clip with Bobby the Brain Heenan when he says, "I've got the white sugar powder all over me," and they start laughing, my guess is he aged because of the road.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
No.
what that sounds like.
No, I think anybody in that profession has shown that you're not immune to the lifestyle, right? It's very rare you see anybody associated, whether it be an announcer or even one of the lifers on the road who set up the ring and all those guys hang out. There are great stories. They go from big city to big city to big city, and they do all those interviews, and your best wrestlers are the ones that can put on the show that night and then fly, and the next morning at 6 a.m. be on a morning FM show promoting that night, that city's event, right? So constantly, and we've been in radio a long time, I've known a lot of people in these cities who have had these guys come into their FM morning show, the yuck, and all that nonsense, 6 a.m., dragging ass, haven't slept, have a show that night, and they'll talk about how some of those guys come in, and it's clearly they went out after the show, but they go with all the roadies. They go with the people that work in, and so I'm sure Okerlund.
Well, there was one time in the old place of employment, and first I set 2 experiences with him. Chris Jericho came in for an interview, but it was around 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
And so I think it was for a weekend show, but he came in, it was 6 o'clock. And actually, physical appearance rather than doing the phoner. Mm-hmm. And he looked to be in fine spirits. And I don't mean over the top.
No.
I think it was because it was 6:30 that he was probably gathered himself. But then I did see him at a post-game affair in Atlanta, Georgia, which is still my Twitter avatar.
It's still my favorite Twitter avatar.
He had just retired, quote unquote, for probably the 5th time in his career to go on tour with his band Fozzy. And he was enjoying retirement. I don't know that he remembers where he was, but I got photographic evidence that he was there as he photobombed me, which was fantastic.
Oh, my God. I just realized that Okerlund, I was looking at all the credits, by the way, and I had forgotten about in 1985. He performed the national anthem at the first WrestleMania, first of all, and then also he went on to sing Tutti Frutti on WWE's wrestling album. We should have found it. Okerlund had a voice.
Apparently, he sang the national anthem.
Yeah,
huh?
yeah, that's not an easy song, so good on you. I saw the first WrestleMania and the second and third, not in person, but yeah, I remember being.
It's funny, the 2 best times in wrestling history, and this is documented from the business standpoint, the growth of it. Usually you could tell if wrestling's doing well if it makes its way into Hollywood and or everything that has to do with the current social climate. Like if those if there's celebrities that can host SNL or they can appear.
Like The Rock.
Right, exactly right. The Rock, I mean, even Mankind was a #1 New York Times bestseller. Mick Foley was in the 90s.
That book is good.
Have a Nice Day?
Yeah.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's good. No, he talks about his life and growing up being a wrestler, a real wrestler,
Yeah.
his father and playing football and all that. Yeah,
That came out when I was in middle school, but that was the second time. So the 80s, Hulk Hogan's rise and Andre the Giant and the WrestleManias, that was the first big wave. And then there was the Monday Night Wars, which is when I started watching Nitro versus Raw. And Nitro would go from 8 to 11 and Raw 9 to 11. And then the whole war was, which place are you staying at 10:45?
Yeah.
Who do you choose?
Well,
and sometimes it would flip week to week because of the high, or what would it be?
Well, they're failing now in that they don't go strong after the fringe or sort of controversial subjects they allowed their folks to engage storyline wise in the past, as we talked about with Jake the Snake. You've got to embrace the crazy and allow for your principal players to represent that. So you have somebody like the Iron Sheik.
Yeah.
When America has just gone through the hostage situation in Iran. So you have the Iron Sheik who in all of his glory is there spitting on America and citing the kind of reactions you talk about. They don't allow for that anymore. It's it's crazy. So, it's so tame.
Well, I wonder, and main event was the word I was looking for, but I wonder if there was an address, and it might just be they're just going to repackage the same thing. I mean, they're here this weekend.
Yeah.
But the McMahons addressed the nation, on Raw, and they said, we're going to start from scratch. Almost like an open apology, but the 4 of them standing in the ring. Saying,
did they do that?
They did.
Just recently?
Just recently, like 2 or 3 weeks ago.
I stopped watching it. My kids got bored. That's when you know you're in trouble. My kids went from all in, loving it, watching it. I had to get them the damn WWE Network, the whole deal. Now I can't remember the last time they pulled that up to watch it.
Oh, man, I was watching that till I was probably 13, 14 years old because it was an adult program at the time, and they definitely placated the kids. They made a conscious effort to switch it to kid-friendly, but they probably need to go back, and I think that's what they were signaling.
Yeah, because there was a sense of danger. And you allowed for storylines that were edgy. You know, they were downright, in some cases, when I grew up, they would embrace the darkness, like evil subplots where you'd go, oh, my God.
Yeah.
I think that guy killed him. You know, I mean, like you'd be watching stuff like that, and you weren't sure. And wrestling magazines, the front cover of every one of those magazines was somebody beaten half to death, just bloody all over the place, you know? I mean, whether it was Abdullah the Butcher or King Kong Bundy or somebody like that, you're watching that stuff.
Well, for me, Mick Foley was the guy, but they also had, so the WWF had the evil part with The Undertaker and Kane. They had Inferno matches, Buried Alive matches.
Embrace it all.
Then they had the Druids because they had the Ministry.
Oh, you can't go wrong with Druids.
But then it became the Corporate Ministry, which was the big turn. And then meanwhile, though, WCW had the NWO.
Sure.
Which was, I mean, they were pulling out nightsticks, and they had tasers.
Now, you have to give a common sense thread in your storytelling and allow for them to push that envelope. Go to the line. Cross it occasionally. It's all right. We get it. It's quote-unquote entertainment.
But then there was also like a black-white war between Ernest the Cat Miller and Disco Inferno. But then here comes the LWO, the Latino World Order. I mean, they had it all, man. So they were pushing all the buttons.
Yeah, storylines, man. That's where they've gone missing. And anyhow, so rest in peace. Mean Gene Okerlund. Didn't want to sign off without at least paying tribute to a segment of my youth where from about 10 to 16, maybe 8 to 16, I was all in. Loved it. We would drive from St. Pete. Well, first of all, they'd have it at the Bayfront Center, but they would be in Lakeland, and they'd go to Tampa, and they'd go to all these different places, and if they were anywhere close, and I remember once I was able to drive, we're on, we're going. We're going. We would have a blast. And I got to go if my brother John's listening. I don't know if he is. I think he's in Australia. Anyhow, if he were listening, he and I went to 2 Saturday night's main events at the USF Sundome.
I was there for one.
And we went to one that was one of my with the missing link. That was one of my all-time favorites. And we were ringside for when Piper was fighting. And that video, my mom still has the video. She recorded it. The camera is panning, and people are cheering Hogan. And then they kind of keep panning. You see John and I'm wearing the Hot Rod shirt, going, "Come on, Tom Piper," rooting for Piper the whole time.
Man, I think the one thing they probably couldn't get away with now is the objectification of women. That was, I mean, you talk about the Monday Night Wars, and
that went on for a long time.
Well, you had the Godfather. And,
you can't do that. Yeah,
the O-Train. You probably can't pull that off anymore. Not that
not that you would want that to be pulled.
It's a little much.
Then again,
upon reflection.
Then again, if the NFL can still have freaking cheerleaders,
right?
What are we doing?
Well, that was the character, though, right? So he was supposed to be that, and he was a bad guy, and he's basically a pimp in the ring.
It's a character.
That's what you got to keep falling back on.
Front Row Knowles up next, I do believe.
That is correct. Squeaky clean.
All right, sounds good. Good work out of you. Good work, Matthew. Good to be back with you guys. Be well. Front Row Knowles up next. Stay tuned.